Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my first live stream. Today, we are going to be doing a live reaction, review, analysis type thing of this video that just came out by Vice. It's called the Anti and Pro-Feminist Debate. My brother is on call with me, and he'll be watching it as well.
Hello.
And before we even start, I want to say, like, poor Sydney. Look at this screen cap. They did our girl dirty. That's all I'm gonna say.
I just want to say real quick that this is a feminist debate, and so I'm going to identify as a woman for the duration of this video, so that way I can have opinions.
As a woman, I give you the permission to have an opinion on feminist issues as a man. How about that?
Nice to know that I have to appeal to the matriarchy to be able to say anything.
All right, let's begin.
On that note,
Without further ado, let's start this. Let me just, as much as I don't want to give Vice the extra view, I think this is important content to watch. Right. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So I got this pulled up in one screen, and I got the chat pulled up in the other. All right, here we go.
Yes. Let us begin. Oh, wait.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick what we want to pick.
Who doesn't have barriers?
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want.
I can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you?
I'm wearing my nope, nope, nope shirt today because I feel like this is going to be a whole lot of nope.
Should we mark this bad
You know,
boy
pause it
off?
for a second. Right off the rip. Like, I see that they're primping themselves for the camera, but that, like, I'm sure so many of these arguments are going to be like beauty standards. Like, if it doesn't matter, why are you primping yourself for the camera?
We don't know what the arguments are going to be. Let's wait to hear the arguments before we fight them.
All right, I'm just saying.
Oh, here we go.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Liz Landers. I'm Vice News' chief political correspondent, and we are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues dividing women across the country. In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. First, I just want to say, we know we can't represent everybody's views, but we did try our best to bring together a diverse group of women today. In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? I saw your hand.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism.
Oh, yeah, we need to...
As a man.
Yeah, we need to speak about this individual. This is Eli Ehrlich. This is a criminal. This is someone who literally sold hormones to minors on the internet under the table.
No, that's not true. This is a trans woman that didn't sell hormones to minors. This is an individual who went on Instagram and said, because I don't agree with the idea that you should have parental consent before you take hormones, that I'm willing to send them to you in the mail for free. Any hormone pills that you think that you would be prescribed to or that you need that you're not able to do. Eli wasn't even selling them. Eli just said, I will mail them straight to you with no cost.
Yeah, so this person is extremely problematic, should not be an influence to anyone at all.
And this is a biological man speaking on behalf of women for feminism.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I can even past the whole idea of I identify as a woman, I'm a trans woman, whatever. This person is a criminal and hurts minors. So I don't even know why Vice is even letting them on here, but
They're edgy.
We move on.
Edgy.
Feminism is more of an action than an identity. I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case it's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow that definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the human race exists, feminism will never be dead. There's something that we're always going to have to strive and work towards to make sure that there's equality. So feminism is not dead.
I don't know that it can die. As long as there's power and oppression, there will be people fighting for equity. And until that somehow goes away, feminism is alive and well.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
Sadly.
I think feminism is also alive and well. There are different kinds of feminism, right? Like, that is obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black feminist, right?
Womanist?
As someone who's really thinking about human rights, dignity,
What does
right,
that mean?
equity, right? As long as
What's the difference between a feminist and a womanist?
that need isn't met, we're still gonna keep fighting.
I have no idea.
I'd say it's alive and well. I'd say that it's also very nuanced, and I think what it looks like is going to differ depending on where you are in the
Gonna be a
world.
man in this?
For me, I just see it as a lens, which isn't necessarily antagonistic or protagonistic. It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movements. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
Yeah, I definitely think it's getting more and more radicalized, for sure. So it's definitely still alive.
I think I'll preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism, and there might be a lot of terms that I don't know, like political jargon and stuff. But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's deficiency in society.
That's the official term.
Deeply rooted that feminism has always existed. I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is rooted in America. And like, oh, white women started it, and it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their rights.
I think as a Black woman specifically, when you talk about feminism, yeah, the mainstream first thing you think about is a certain type of feminism that tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African-American women, and it's always kind of done that. And also like, upper middle class white women has predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a Black woman and being a Black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, you know, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
What? There's so much entitlement in that. You can't get what you want. You can't have what you want, and you have to be she's basically saying, like, it's not right for someone to tell me no about anything. Because I'm a woman, and I'm a woman in society. I should have what I want when I want it, and when someone says no, that means that, well, there are barriers being placed to my success.
Right.
Like
Outlaw 2 actually, he also says, which wave of feminism are they referring to? First wave, second wave started to hurt women, third wave is close to the issue we see, and fourth is the modern push. So
it's like this isn't. Well, first off, there aren't even any men included on the panel, so it's definitely not fourth wave. If fourth wave is supposed to be them saying that, you know, they're going to try to include men, it's definitely not fourth wave. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems like, I don't know.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl. Actually,
you
I
can
think
use it as
there's a
an
lot of
advantage.
benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think that you present in a way that beauty
because you have an
standards have
opinion.
accepted.
Right.
And so
They call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily, I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there is a certain value that we
I
give
don't
to certain
necessarily
bodies.
think you're good.
I mean, let's also dig into why these quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
Because we
privileges
want special
exist.
treatment.
No, it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women and because of sexism.
How is it
Pearl is-
sexism when we have no barriers today? So
Pearl is talking real talk. She is. Yes, Emily. Thank you. And thanks everybody for being here, by the way. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Like, I cannot believe that a biological male is talking about this. Like, there's less women in the workforce. Like, oh my God.
So we can
Who
pick
has
what we
no
wanna-
barriers?
It doesn't have
There's
barriers.
Women
so much
don't
wrong
have
with it.
barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do whatever
barriers.
you want.
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you?
No,
As a woman, as a woman.
She's in
As a
wheelchair.
woman.
I
As a woman.
can't
Yeah.
say you can.
That
Yeah,
ignores
she's in a
lot that
wheelchair.
I'm a woman with a disability, so there's
Yeah.
a lot stopping me.
That's-
that you don't have
That's
to think
that
about.
thing.
As I said
They had to
before,
have
I'm
someone with a
talking about
disability.
Women. I'm not.
You're
I'm
speaking
not,
you're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as
an able-bodied
able-bodied
white woman.
I
That is
understand.
white.
Presents white.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled. I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're just
would
going to
agree.
ignore
White
the
women have-
face she made.
Yeah.
She rolled her eyes like she's like, well, I have a barrier because I'm disabled. And so then she's like, well, of course you have barriers because you're disabled. She makes her eye roll look like, why you say that about me? Like,
What's interesting about Pearl is she's like, look, I'm not trying to make this about disabled women. I'm not trying to make this about like women of other races or cultures. We're just talking about in general women. Like women, we are all women in theory, right? Everyone on the panel should be all women, right? In theory, that is the one thing that should unify everyone about this subject, even though men can definitely have valid opinions and care about women. I would argue that lots of men care about the well-being of women. And for a long time, you know, of course, the idea of feminism sounds great because I was always propagandized to believe that feminism it just meant like equal respect, right? As a woman, like my opinions would be heard in the same kind of respect as a man's would, but that's really not what feminism is.
well, like the thing that really bugs me about all this is that ultimately, who are they appealing to try to get their rights? Well, they're appealing to men because the men are the ones that are in power, right? So like if they're because their whole argument hinges on the idea there's this big patriarchy, right? So how are they going to usurp power from the patriarchy by appealing to one another anyway?
Right.
So like they're creating arguments that are like attacking men, but saying like we're going to take the power away from the same men that are kind of empowering them to even be there in the first place. So like
Right.
I don't really understand where they're going with that. And then in addition, like there's so many talking points that have just been beaten in the ground that they're bringing up that have just been debunked. Like the pay gap and the labor thing. It gets so simple. And for the people that are here that haven't thought of this, it's, you know, if a woman gets paid 75% of what a man does, if you look on the grand scale and you look at how often women have children, well, that takes up 3 months every time you have a child. Well, if there's 12 months in the year, 3 months is 25%.
Yeah.
So if a woman works 9 months out of the year and a man works 12 months out of the year, woman has a child, man doesn't, that means she makes 75% of what the man does because she's bearing children.
Exactly.
Right?
We're only 6 minutes in. We don't.
I'm just saying that was an argument that they made. That's
Yeah,
an
but
argument that was
we haven't seen the whole thing yet. So.
I know, I'm just saying.
Pretty privilege. I hate when that gets mentioned. I hate that too, especially as a woman. You know, saying that, you know, you have pretty privilege, so your opinion gets heard more than mine does or whatever. That's not right, because one might argue that a woman's opinion would get heard over a man's. It doesn't matter if she's a pretty woman or not, right? So yeah, the pretty privilege thing is like, that's subjective. It's subjective. What is pretty? What is pretty? You know, I'm sure as I kind of start talking about more political things, I'm sure there is going to be someone who's just like, this bitch, I'm like, sure. And I'm preparing myself now for it. But guess what? I don't care. Yep.
Have it easier, yes. I would agree.
What?
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over bodies.
Pay gap has been
Yeah.
proven and debunked.
Pay gap doesn't
endlessly.
exist.
Hold on, she's...
It's the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things. First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should
Thank you,
take
Harvey.
these jobs, which is societal sexism. And then also, actually, Department of Labor, all statistics, at least speaking in the US, have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains to race.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't ask for it?
Why are they not asking?
Wait, what happens when women ask for raises?
Sorry, I've been wanting to say something, but I want to be respectful. I don't want to interrupt people, and I want to let them finish their thoughts.
Jump in,
But
go through the wall.
Yeah, I will interrupt all of them because I have the power of the clicks here. This is an interesting topic because as a woman who goes and gets her own jobs, right? I have felt a kind of anxiety when it comes to asking for more money. I can relate to that a tiny bit, but like, what do you do about that? You grow the fuck up. You know, like I'm not gonna get paid more unless I ask for it. And yes, as a woman, I have been sexually fucked with mentally, right, by employers. I've literally had someone in an interviewing me, a man, be like, "Well, this sure is attractive. Your resume, I mean." Like someone literally did that to me in person. Like, so obviously with that kind of pressure, it is kind of scary to ask for higher wages, but of course women deserve equal pay for the same kind of job that they're trying to get. But if it's a more dangerous job, then it makes sense that there would be more money towards that job. And if a man does it, then that's perfectly okay.
Well, like even in addition to that, though, that's just completely forgetting that it's not like men just walk in balls to the wall and like, hey, give me more money. Like that's not even how it works either. There's a certain anxiety about a man going in and asking for a pay raise, because what happens to men when you go in that situation is they pull out your metrics, they pull out the charts, and they say, well, what have you done for me lately? They say, oh, well, you might have had a couple of good days, or how am I going to justify it? Like they degrade you. They're like, well, you're just not good enough. You haven't met our standards. So it might not be, you might not have the whole thing of like, oh, you know, I'm being sexualized, or I'm a woman, so they're going to they're going to make themselves seem towered over me or seem more like stronger than me kind of thing. But men have to deal with this whole thing of like, you're not good enough. They'll straight tell you, your metrics don't justify us giving you any more money. Yeah. And you know, so we have to do that too. Like we have a certain amount of anxiety, because what happens is then there's this whole thing where if you start asking for a raise, people above you start assuming that you're asking to get a promotion or to move up, and then the people above you start looking at, hey, is this guy trying to take my job?
Right.
And so then you get treated differently. So
yep. I get it.
It's universal.
Yep.
It is a very privileged label, right, to be able to say that you're feminist, right? And I say that because I come from a working class background of Dominican immigrant parents. My mother would not necessarily identify as a feminist. I look to my mother, and I do think of her as a feminist. A lot of my ideas and my empowerment comes from seeing her like survive and put food on the table. When I'm thinking about feminism, I'm always thinking about who's not part of the conversation. What are the barriers? How do we think about equity? How do we think about self-empowerment and agency and having a voice, right? And having choice, and thinking about our basic human rights, education, access to health, homes, like having bread, having food, and those things are very important, right? And they're at the crux, right, of what a lot of us here know that we need. It's like there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.? Like what?
What would you like to know an example of?
I know you said that there's like barriers. I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today as a woman.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Let's be specific.
As a woman. I said
we
as
don't,
a woman.
Well, no, I can't answer as a
Right.
woman.
I just feel like your question is kind of hostile when you're like,
Yeah.
there are
It's
no
not a
barriers
woman's
to
issue
what
now,
I want.
right?
Congratulations. That means you have a privilege where you're not facing any friction, and that's showing. And I feel like it's
I think as an American, you're very privileged. Like,
I'm not ignoring that.
Or like a basic level of what, I mean, the feminist movement is when it comes to just being born a woman, right? Physically, pound for pound, we are born as women and we have less lean muscle mass than men. So there are issues of violence and assault and stuff like that. And so therefore, there are policies, there are things to help women physically, like, for example, I believe being able to carry a firearm and being able to use that safely to defend yourself against men who are born naturally with more muscle mass.
Yeah, so having a gun is the great equalizer. And yeah, someone in chat said, you know, they use the words equity and equality interchangeably. Zach, you have something to say about that, right? About equity versus equality?
They aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
Like equality means, like, so it's very simple. Equality means we make a pie and there's 8 people and we make 8 slices and everybody gets 1 slice, okay? Equity is everybody brings some portion of ingredients to make the pie, and you get the amount of pie in comparison to the amount of ingredients you bring. So if you bring 90% of the ingredients, you get 90% of the pie, and the rest gets split up to the other 10%. So, like, I'm not commenting on what's better, equity or equality, but what I'm saying is that when you hear people talk about, I'm searching for equity, then what you really have to ask them is, how much have you contributed if you want equity? You don't get equity unless you have some kind of contribution.
Right.
If you want equality, that's different.
These women are catty. I mean, you stick a bunch of women who don't agree with each other in a room, it's gonna get nasty.
Than a woman.
I keep hearing the term equity. What would a world that has equity look like? Like, would it be 50% of everyone in the same jobs? Would it be like prison, 50%? That's
equality.
50%.
Yeah,
So what does equity look like?
So equity is generally described as a state of fairness because historically a lot of people have been arguing for equality, but what does that give us? Like 0.5
this
of
is
the
just,
1%
this
being
is not
women.
right.
This doesn't really do anything.
This is inaccurate.
And so people
Equity
have
doesn't
talked
equal
about equity
fairness.
instead, which is instead of sameness, it's
This person
fairness.
just delete Eli Ehrlich.
Remove systemic
delete,
barriers
delete.
to
Equity is
engage in
opportunity.
society, not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Those
Okay,
barriers that you
so-
don't believe in.
I
do
do. Go
for
on.
you to have a bunch of
Opportunity
ramps
in
in your life. It
comparison
doesn't
to
do
your
shit.
contribution.
I need those ramps, right?
Can we stick to male versus female? That's my question. So I'm thinking male versus female.
But my
So
feminism includes ability, it includes
but my
race.
question is
You
for
guys
women,
can talk. You
women
can talk.
versus men. Like what barriers do we need removed? Because that's my statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women versus men.
It's very silly.
So what barrier?
Why is
I
it
just want
silly?
to know.
The question
it's a
is
fair
silly.
question.
So, yeah, but I'm
It's
saying,
not a fair question.
Speaking of being catty,
Kind of proving
is
the
my
point
baby.
of why what people, especially black women, other people who are anybody who's not white, why we hear feminism and we don't want that label because it means, I'm just gonna say, it means that. Like, it means that you've already gotten to a pinnacle of whatever you think your happiness needs or whatever your survivalist needs are, when there are people on lower end who are trying to survive, who are trying to get to a point of what should be normal, based on what other people have.
It sort of sounds like you're saying feminism is not always inclusive then.
Right.
It's most of the time it's not inclusive. It's more times than
Is
not.
that's a leading
it's not.
question, Your Honor.
And within the just feminism space, again, there obviously the very basic is male versus female versus, but unfortunately, we've only had one subset of women be the face and voice and the academics and research and everything to be able to say, well, that's the standard we need to be in, when there are other people who are still trying to get to some type of normalcy and just living.
What is the biggest issue then that feminism faces?
I think it's the mindset. Women taking like the agency, women taking initiative. I think it's mindset holding them back a lot, because if you want to be in a competitive world and compete, you have to have the right mindset. And I think a lot of people blame their lack of confidence or what society tells them for the reason that they're not achieving what they need to achieve, when that's not the case. You have to have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
I don't think 100%. We do.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. If I may interject, I'm an editor. You guys know this. What they did to Sydney right there was shitty, because like this woman is talking facts, right? She's talking very fairly. And so what they did is they put Sydney's face, like, I can't really find the screenshot, but you guys just saw what I was talking about, right? If we play that again.
Women taking like the
this is fair. This is an idea
initiative.
that is
I think it's
fair to think of.
Holding them back a lot, because if you want to be in a competitive world and compete,
we're going to an editor's view here.
Mindset, and I think a lot of people blame their lack of confidence or what society tells them. For the reason that they're not achieving what they need to achieve. When
like
that's
that
not the
face,
case. You have
right?
to have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build
is like, she's right, and this is the core of so much of this whole thing, is that like, as much as women may hate to admit it, men built everything. They didn't discover everything. They didn't create everything. But as far as the build-up of the world, men did the vast, vast majority of it. And as a result, they built the rules surrounding all of it. So, like, why is it so bad? Like, well, first off, what does that, for anybody, it doesn't matter if you're another man or not. What right does anyone else have to come in and say, well, because I feel like I should have a part of this thing that's already been established before me by people who built it. I want it, and you should give it to me, right?
I mean, so you know, we can talk about colonizing in another video.
Well, I mean, but that's I'm talking about in the sense of like, how do you just walk into someone else's establishment and say, I want it to be the way that I said so because I am this person. You can't go into a Best Buy and say, I want this television because my name is Zach Ansley, I'm a YouTuber, so I should have this television.
I mean, I understand your point here, but I think that's like, I think there's like a more overreaching problem there. And like I said, we could talk about like the colonizing of America and how they got that whole reputation and whatnot. But I see what you're saying though. Sid got cut out of a lot of scenes. She did. Yeah, I was looking on her Twitter and she was talking about how she actually called out Eli Ehrlich for being a freak, but apparently that got cut out. I mean, with the screenshot there, the thumbnail alone, like I think they're trying to paint Sydney in a bad light. Yeah, trying to make her look radical and mean mugging. Exactly. And you're right, or yeah.
build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't think we do. I think that's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies.
Right.
I think that men are not well adjusted in the society and women are not trying to re-embody what they have built for us.
Okay.
I think that like what we're forgetting is a very important detail, which is just like human respect and dignity.
Yeah,
and not asking people to prove what their experience is and to prove to you. Like, it is like such conservative thinking to say like, I don't understand, explain it to me, versus just saying, I don't understand and let me respect what you are saying.
I'm respecting wherever your starting point. I'm respecting that. I'm really respecting that. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's never...
achieve what? Like, what are we talking about? Because I feel like you've projected this like capitalist ideology on every woman.
Achieve whatever it is you're looking for, equality, equity. But what I'm saying is women in the feminist space and a lot of these other spaces, we don't acknowledge that we have to take the initiative. We have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that factor into my person. Great. This is about feminism. It's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person. That's perfectly fine. But this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized. But this is annoying to listen to. I honestly I don't understand anything anybody's even trying to get at.
Look, I just want to say that I don't think equity and this concept of competition can't coexist with each other. Equity is building more facilities for people who need them. It is recognizing that there are holes in the market and there's opportunities for women and feminine expansive people and meeting those opportunities. I think equity can buoy the pre-existing system that we live in a good way.
And this is where we're going to get to what I think the real feminist arguments are based off of policy. And abortion is the biggest one.
How many of you would identify as pro-choice? Let's do a show of hands for pro-choice.
I feel like pro-choice is pro-life, though. Yeah.
Okay, and folks who identify as pro-life? Why do you identify as each?
You've gone from legal, safe, rare to, yeah, I'm so proud, let me beatbox in front of a Planned Parenthood, yeah, I got murder on my mind. The fact that it's celebrated that murdering children, especially in late-term pregnancies, is celebrated, that people are so proud of themselves for mutilating a fetus is just, it blows my mind. And I don't think that you need to be pro-life to even take that stand.
You said late-term pregnancy.
Yes.
A lot of abortions do not happen
I made
in
the
late-term
distinction.
pregnancy.
I made the distinction specifically because lots of people still celebrate. There are people who, when the laws were passed actually here in New York, they said, yes, great, yes, I love the fact
but
that...
you need to ask about what are people celebrating, right? They're celebrating access. We're not celebrating killing kids. Like, that's not what it is.
Well, so this is what I'm saying.
So, here's the thing. When we're talking about access to reproductive health and to abortion rights, right, and to being pro-choice, listen, that's your body, you do you.
The child is not your body.
As I go.
A baby.
It's so scary for me to hear people calling like guns
We'll go,
the biggest
yeah,
equalizer
and
for
we'll talk
women,
after the video too, but what you got?
I don't want to lose my thought. This is ridiculous because they don't even realize what they're saying. They're advocating for more federal power. The states have the ability to determine whether or not they want to have abortions or not.
And maybe someone will mention that.
And the federal government has protected abortion. You can legally have, or they've left it up to the states. They've said that we're not making it illegal. It's up to the states.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's like no one's saying you can't have abortion. There's just certain regions of the United States that are saying we're making our decision that we're not allowing it in this little place.
Right.
Like, so
this whole conversation is just going off the rails. And look, Eli looks like a fucking sociopath. It's crazy. Lauren Chen was supposed to be part of this debate, but was declined because didn't have proof of vaccination. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
I wouldn't be worried about getting COVID. No, I'm not going to.
Yeah, that's a tinfoil chat for another video, too. For sure.
Well, I was going down a different path, but I'll hold my tongue.
but taking their choices away from them at a policy level.
Why is that?
Having a gun is an equalizer.
It is.
Having rights is an equalizer.
Yeah, that's
Having
right.
choice is an equalizer.
It's like a gun right.
And in this country,
41 forms of birth control.
policies that are pushed
Having
to
rights is an
continue
equalizer.
perpetuating patriarchy and anti-women, like taking the autonomy away from women, it is heartbreaking to see women pushing that propaganda. It's all brainwash. Like you,
it's brainwash because you don't agree with me.
No,
so
I've
therefore
been
I'm brainwashed.
I have lived deeply institutionalized.
Man,
I have lived under Islam. I'm not interested in any of that. Like, there's no like
You're not
guilt
interested
for
in
me.
human
No, I'm not interested in like
living,
thinking that like women are doing this really bad thing. Like in my religion, abortion is actually allowed. If the woman needs it, she's allowed, because you know it's very interesting how like fundamental America is. Like fundamentalist.
This is nothing to do with
like
even religion. This is very
conservative
basic
thinking.
scientific human rights.
We're also talking about people not having access to abortion clinics where they're doing the things themselves and they die, right? We're also talking about women in the hospital who are pregnant, who have chosen to stay with their pregnancy and have issues at hospitals, and hospitals that are like, oh, no, we don't do that. Listen, for whatever reason, you don't need to explain it to anybody, but a lot of times when we're talking about access to reproductive health, for me, I'm thinking about Black, Indigenous, people of color, particularly women and girls who are working class, who do not have even access to like proper sexual education.
What is proper sexual education? That's another video.
I will force you to have a child even against your own will, right? Especially when you're thinking about women and girls who would be forced to have these children, who are already living in very traumatized and scarce situations. You want to ask about barriers? That's a barrier right there.
Women in poverty aren't able to access the way that rich women are, and no matter what happens, rich women are gonna keep getting abortions, and people in poverty are gonna not. And the choice, opening it up, the overruling, is marginally affecting people of color, people in poverty, way more than people who are going to get access to those abortions.
Actually,
anyway.
incorrect. You're there's actually more abortions for people in poverty. It's just at a lower rate.
Why do you think that abortion has been so tied up in this feminism conversation?
It's all just social structure set up around bodies. So if not all women are able to have babies, but it's about the barriers and value that we give to these specific bodies, right? And so if abortion happens in a woman's body, that's why this conversation is coming up.
Are we
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are we saying that women are just their bodies?
Oh my God, I just can't.
Yeah, late-term abortion is definitely a huge problem. I mean, I was thinking of that yesterday. Like, unless it's an extreme case and there's a chance of like death for the mother, or like, I mean, even so, like you have to make that choice as a mother, I suppose. But like late-term pregnancy is just like no. Or I'm sorry, late-term abortion, big no for me. I personally think that like, you know, if it's an extreme case, then okay. If you need to have an abortion, that's all right. But I also think that you shouldn't have to have the government like be so involved, right? As well. And I do think that people should have children. I like the idea of having children. Is that a bad thing? No. Does that mean that I'm completely vilify abortion in all regards? No, of course not. There are definitely cases where, and it's always hard on the mothers, right? That's where the whole like movement where people were like guilting people at Planned Parenthood and all the protests and stuff towards that's where I think they got it wrong, because I think that it maybe years ago when all of that was a thing, the women that went in to get abortions were very upset about it. It is traumatic. I've talked to people who've had abortions. It's bad, or like miscarriages. It's really hard on you mentally, and it's hard on your heart. So, you know, there's no reason to guilt them. And if they need to have an abortion, there's no reason to guilt them about that. However, I do believe that just having an abortion just because you can and not being safe is irresponsible.
Yeah, I like what Sean Perkins said in the chat. Like, they frame it like forced pregnancy is such a huge deal, like it's happening every day. That's like a common thread with all of these arguments. Like they're taking these edge cases and acting like they're the norm and trying to disproportionately like litigate or law their way or get protections into taking all these edge cases and just saying this is how it always is, therefore we need more rights. When the edge cases, forced pregnancies, that that kind of thing, like that's not the norm.
Yeah.
So, but all of these, and it's what Sydney said earlier. Like everybody's talking about their own individual specific problems, right? Well, though, if you look at it from all 8 or 9 of them, or however many have their own specific problems, well, then that makes it look like it's not a massive problem. It's problems that individuals are having, and so from that perspective, there's no way to say what's truly inequitable or what's truly unfair, because it seems like everyone just has regular old human problems, right? There's no universal argument here, and I think that's what's making this fall apart. It's all edge arguments, and nothing is getting done as a result of it.
Yeah, and they're trying to say, oh, as I'm a woman, I'm victimized. As a woman, I'm victimized. But then they try to say, well, is it because you're a woman or because you're a woman of color? Like, then you're getting rid of the one unifier of that. Exactly. All of these people are supposed to be women, except for Eli, who's just a fucking monster, and delete Eli, or like, but they're supposed to be women, right? So that should be the unifier. It shouldn't be about if you're colored or disabled, right? And why are you trying to lump colored people in with disabled people anyway, lady? Like, being colored is not a disability. Being colored is awesome and fine. Totally cool, man. And just because you are a woman of color doesn't mean that you are not a woman, doesn't mean that you are any more or less important. Man.
Ugh.
Man.
That's sexist.
That not all women are able to have babies or pregnancies. Are you saying, meaning like an infertility issue?
A number of reasons. There's all kinds of reasons that not all women are having babies.
Pearl, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah!
Yeah, instead of, taking personal accountability and being on birth control, they just want to like do whatever they want.
Did you see what happened there? Guess who freaking jumped at the opportunity to say, oh yeah, sexual revelations or whatever, sexual debauchery. Let's see that again.
Overruling.
It's the most replayed, by the way.
Affecting people of color, people in poverty, way more than people who are going to get access to those abortions.
Actually,
anyway.
incorrect. You're the misquote. There's actually more abortions for people in poverty.
Oh, wait.
It's just at a lower rate.
Too far back.
Oh, shit.
Why do you think that abortion has been so tied up in this feminism conversation?
Where was I?
It's all just social structures set up around bodies. So
Are able to have
Instead of, you know, taking personal accountability
Oh, yeah,
and
it's
being
right there.
around and not have any consequence for it.
these or pregnancies, are you saying meaning like an infertility issue?
a number of reasons. There's all kinds of reasons that not all women are having babies.
Pearl, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
See?
Yeah, instead of, you know, taking personal accountability and being on birth control, they just want to like, do whatever they want.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's a male. No matter what you want to say that person is, that's a biological male that made that comment. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we're so happy. Yay, let's all live in debauchery. Hooray. No accountability.
I'm taking my my niece to a drag show.
I can't get pregnant, so haha.
My God.
You say this like it's
I
a
think that's
bad
flippant.
thing.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like you said.
Sydney?
Can I also ask, do you have any care to empower women, or is disempowering women part of your like steez?
To see this as shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay. Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
Why
what
is
I'm
that
saying
empowering?
is like, I feel like you do like take, like the
Why
way
is
you
it
speak on
disempowering?
women is very
That's the question.
sort of like, women just don't want to do
There's
this.
the question.
Women just don't have
Dodged.
this. Women just want to
You know what,
this.
maybe I should
And I
change my
wonder
term. Maybe
why
I
you
should
have
say-
so much like hatred towards
I don't
women.
hate
Where does
women.
that root in? It
I
sounds
don't hate
like
women.
you do.
I am a woman. I
That doesn't mean you don't have to
Be
hate.
black and still be
Exactly.
Hold on, let me go, let's go back to that face when she says, watch the lady with the coins when she says, I am a woman. Watch her face.
said.
Can I also ask, do you have
And
any
why do you
care
hate
to
women,
empower women,
bigot?
or is disempowering women part of your like
She's like, why do you
steez?
hate women?
To see this as shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay. Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
Why is
what
that
I'm
empowering?
saying is like, I feel like you do like take, like the way
Why
you
is it
speak on
disempowering?
women is
like you hate women,
very
therefore you
sort
do.
of like, women just don't want to do this. Women just don't have this. Women just wanted this.
maybe I should
And I
change my
wonder
term. Maybe
why
I should
you have
say-
so much like hatred towards
I
women.
don't hate
Where does
women.
that root in? It
I
sounds
don't hate
like
women.
you do.
I am a woman. I
That
don't.
doesn't mean you don't have
Be
self-hate.
black and still be internalized racism.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm saying
her.
specific things that you're saying, like women don't want to work, women
Poor
don't want to
Sydney.
this, women want to sleep around. Where did you learn these belief systems from?
Because okay, the question was why does abortion keep getting brought up? 40% of women that have had abortions have had 2 or more. 40%.
Good for
so
them.
what does that say to me? That means you're using it as a form of birth control, and they don't track the 60%.
What
to
kind
see-
of
Wait, can you let
abortions?
me finish? They don't track the 60% to say who in the future has abortion. So to me, it's like why are they dying so hard for abortion? They want to sleep around with no consequences, even though you have 41 forms of birth control.
Who does that benefit? I don't think that benefits women. I think actually that benefits men because it means that men can have sex with you without consequence. It means that you can sleep with whoever you feel like, great, but there are consequences because women are the ones who get pregnant and carry babies and give birth.
It's a very binary version of
yes,
sex.
because sex is binary, but please let me finish my point.
Oh, God.
It's tricking women into thinking that aborting a pregnancy, terminating a pregnancy is something to be celebrated, when in reality, for a lot of women, especially those who are doing it under duress, say that they've been raped or that, you know, in the small circumstances where something really traumatic has happened to them, that's a medical decision. Or say that they're miscarrying and then they have to, you know, have an assisted termination. That's a medical procedure. It's not a celebration of, oh, look at the.
The idea, the sort of like moral setting of that it needs to be rare is, I think the delineation between that's a medical abortion and that's like a fun abortion is really interesting because they're all medical. It's all a medical procedure. And so no matter what you're doing, going in there and getting it, like it's not like, oh, you're only allowed 2. It's just like you should just be able to get a medical procedure done when it's something that you need done.
We shouldn't be desensitized to taking someone's life. That should never be an empowering factor for a woman.
I definitely agree in that, like, there should be no absolute thing any woman should do. There should not be an absolute response to incest or rape or any of these things. Every woman should have the choice of if they want to or not want to carry that child whether it is having fun, getting raped, incest, whatever it is. I don't glorify and glamorize abortion. I think it's a very traumatic thing. I doubt that if somebody has to do, like if they have to do it, they'll do it. I don't think that people are like, you know, doing like have 6, get the 7th free and having fun with it. And I think that like glamorization and glorification of any side is not okay.
Did the Dobbs decision make anybody here sort of rethink abortion access, reproductive health care?
It's anti-woman, right? It's it does not center people to have that voice for themselves and their own decisions, right? It is a barrier, right?
It's giving more agency to women because it's moving it back to the state level. So locally,
but why would the state have the women to tell me what to do?
Because it is in multitudes of different areas. If you take out the viewpoint that life begins at conception, which is a really big defining principle for both the pro-life crowd, who very, very, you know, vehemently believe that, and then obviously a lot of the pro-choice crowd do not believe that. Taking that out of the equation, you do not have just whatever kind of autonomy you want as a person. It's regardless of male or female. You can't just have free run to do whatever the hell you want. That's not how society operates. So
at no point do I have the right to tell anyone in this room what they should or should not do with their bodies.
But it's not about your body.
Like,
it's not about
me respecting a question here.
It's not about your body. It's about the kid's body. I don't care what you do with your body.
It's my body, right? We're talking about my body.
You're talking about
Jordan, I saw your hand creep up.
Yeah, you want to talk about how it's a red herring?
It's not even about the power of a woman. It's about the power of the state.
Yeah.
And that's what these people are completely overlooking. It's like the perfect distraction just to give the government more power over what people can and can't do. If you think of abortion as a right, it's like George Carlin said, anything that you're given as a right is something that can be taken away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're asking for the government to protect something, that means you're giving someone or something the power to take it away. And so what the government, what the people who advocate for big government are doing here is they're making this a social issue so that there's enough people that get behind the idea of making these things rights and protecting them by law, that it just allows them to gradually have more power over bodily autonomy. Like being able to say you can make this choice.
Yep.
That is not freedom.
Yep.
The Dobbs decision for me reinforced how important it is that we approach these issues from a cultural perspective, because it reinforces something that I have told many of my colleagues and peers in the past, which is that so long as you lack a cultural consensus, any issue can become a political football that can be decided by another election cycle. And so long as there is no strong consensus, I would expect this to be our reality going forward, these extremely vitriolic and aggressive conversations until there's another miraculous consensus that brought about Roe v. Wade. But what it more or less reinforced for me is that we're going to have more of these difficult conversations.
I want to talk about transgender issues. Should trans women be included in feminist conversations? How about in women's spaces?
Yes, they're women. What's the question?
Pearl,
trans women are women.
So I want to come at this from the position of an athlete.
Oh, Jesus.
So I play semi-pro basketball, semi-pro volleyball. So when it comes to like athletic spaces, I don't think that trans women should be allowed into athletic spaces, because I don't think it's a fair, I think as female athletes, we work so incredibly hard for the little opportunity there is in women's sports.
Would this be a barrier for you?
There's no barrier. There's less opportunity in some industries.
That's what a barrier is.
There's less, it's not, no. It's
That's
based
what
on the market.
means.
Okay.
Hold on, guys.
Okay, so again, we work very hard for the little opportunity there is in the space, because we're not as entertaining as the men. Sorry, we're just not. And so it's like you're gonna take the little opportunity that we're given. And the problem is, like,
I'm doing the same thing you are.
We can't compete.
I'm literally doing
we
the same
can't.
thing.
Like, I'm 6 foot. If I go up against a 6 foot guy and I play basketball with him, he's gonna body me.
And what happens if I go up against you?
Even if I have years more of training. And so it's like you're taking away the little opportunity that we're given and we all work so hard for, and you're just giving it back to biological guys. It's like, this will be the end of women's sports.
Have you tried confidence?
She literally just said, like,
have you tried confidence? Sorry.
And she was like, well, what if it's me against you? Would you body me? Like, oh,
dude, if like I suck at basketball, okay?
well, have you
Already,
tried
off the-
confidence? Maybe you'd be good at basketball if you tried confidence, Zach.
I don't care if I'm as good as Steph Curry. If I went up against Shaquille O'Neal with my size and my stature, he would body me. No matter how much confidence or how much skill I have, that dude would body me. And that's a man.
Have you tried confidence?
Confidence has nothing to do with it at all. That's why wrestling has weight classes. That's why boxing has weight classes. And that's irrespective of sex. Because once you hit certain levels you hit certain points of muscle mass and weight, you just tear people up that are smaller than you. And women biologically cannot be as big as men. Like they are outliers. The women that are 6'3" and 250 pounds are extreme outliers, and that's what Pearl's saying is that like it's such a little opportunity to be competitive like that because you have to have those physical differences like weight sizes, height, all those things are so rare for women to have in ways that are beneficial in sports like basketball, right? You never have 6 foot tall women, almost never, right? And in the NBA you got to be 6'3" or 4" to even have a chance. I
could be a pro American football player, okay, if I just tried confidence.
I've talked to you about this before. When they've had women get in men's football, they get mauled. The only cases of this is even working at all these days is at the little league and some high school levels. But men, I'm watching football right now while this is going, and I just watched a dude get bodied off the side of the field. A girl would have been broken into 2 pieces if she had been hit like that. Not because a girl is weak, not because a girl isn't capable of being an athlete, but because that dude that hit him is 350 pounds, and most women aren't more than at the most these big linemen. A female lineman, I guess, might be 200 pounds maybe, and she'd still get bodied by a 300-pound man.
Right. So what exactly is the argument here? Like, are you trying to say, well, if a trans person goes into a sports competition and they're a bunch of against biological women, then, oh, well, that trans person, they don't have the muscle mass. They're small. They're small in stature. They would be a naturally smaller man. So with the hormones, they can compete with strong women, big, strong women, right? I think, I've heard that as an argument before. And okay, if you're a very small man and you take a bunch of estrogen, and you're trying to say, oh, I can compete against the stronger of biological women, there's still no matter what, when you hit puberty, there's going to be a difference in testosterone, in estrogen, and that's going to affect how you perform.
Yeah, I told you about this too. The volleyball game where the trans woman spiked the ball and broke the girl's nose on the other side just because the ball hit her. And he spiked it so much harder that it broke her nose on the spot. We want women's safety, right? Well, why are you going to put biological men into sports that have contact?
So what's the solution? To have a trans sports or?
That's not inclusive enough, Ellie.
Oh, right. That's not inclusive.
No, it's, I don't know. It's tough because it's really tough because I'm of the opinion. This is my opinion. I do not reflect Ellie's opinions. This is my opinion. My opinion is that it should be based upon your biological sex, and I think that if you've been proven to have any type of hormone altering medication, you should be disqualified from sports.
Kind of treat it like what am I thinking of here, chat? Where people take drugs for performance, they're treating it like that. Steroids.
Yeah, steroids. Yes.
Kind of treat it like steroids.
I think that people who take hormone replacement therapy of any kind, in any way, even men that take testosterone to grow more, should be banned from sports. I don't think that there should be any type of hormonal alterations to be allowed to be a professional competitive athlete, because what you're doing is you're tampering with the competitive balance anyway.
Yeah. There is a trans hockey league that's already been a disaster. Wowee. Yeah, maybe if they could compete in their own special no pun intended. Their own Special Olympics.
Oh, no.
Okay, never mind. We're moving on.
Hold on, Minnie.
Sorry, confidence can't make me bench what a guy benches.
I don't
Confidence can't
understand
make
why
me
you guys
6'7".
are so hostile. She's sharing her
And confidence
experience
can't make
in
me
a
6'7".
specific
No, she's
field.
sharing
And
trans
I'd have to
misogyny.
go.
No, she's not. She's a woman who's had an
No, it's always-
experience.
it's
Hold on,
it's
one
always
at a
the-
time.
You guys
We
are
let
so
Pearl
obsessed with your
finish.
own experiences and your own existence, and yet when a woman is sitting here telling you, I feel as though this is unfair and this is compromising and this situation is not helping women, you guys are like, meh, meh, meh. But when you're like, I'm a black person that did this, 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 and this, then it's valid and fair and viable.
Eli, I want to give you the chance to respond.
So this is basically a joke of a talking point. Everyone has biological advantages in sports. How tall are you?
5'11" and a half. I'm tall.
I'm 5'8". I am a trans woman. You would crush me. You would absolutely crush
Bone
me.
density, wrist strength, muscle density, you can't switch those.
Yeah, exactly. You would crush me.
But also, Eli, you would never play at the level that Pearl plays because you would never get there.
So let me give you a few more examples here too. So Michael Phelps produced more lactic acid in his body, which caused him to swim better than any of his competitors. This was widely celebrated, and nobody contested it. Now, this is a performance-enhancing hormone. So we all have different bodies. And now I'm not saying that trans women who aren't on hormones should participate, but there are, every major medical and every major sports organization agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the same competitive abilities.
The study that you're referencing had like 7 people participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be
a lot
personal.
of us live in this space where we're told that our opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over, regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So
Okay,
there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to...
Yeah, the fact that she literally just proved Sydney's point by cutting her off, literally laughing in her face. Are you kidding?
I thought that this was supposed to be about this arbitrary concept of gender, not sex. I thought this was about gender.
I thought this was about feminism. What is that?
I'm gonna say this. Gender is an obfuscation. The concept of gender is an obfuscation, and we can elaborate on that later.
Yep.
I'm just planting the seed.
I'm a biological, neurodivergent, bisexual woman. Like, me saying that stuff, like, that doesn't matter. The topic should be, I am a woman and I care about women's issues, of course, and but they're just like moving the goalposts everywhere. Like, here's the point. There it went. Right? Ugh.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
Okay, we're having a conversation about transgender women participating in sports, and I wanted to allow more people to participate. Jordan, I wanted to hear from you.
So I am not a professional athlete. The closest thing I have ever done to anything athletic was I used to do competitive show choir when I was younger. And I don't feel really qualified to make carte blanche statements about whether or not trans women should compete in every kind of sport. And I understand that that is kind of, that's a hard pill to swallow. And for me, my first inclination is to approach everything through a lens of inclusivity. But at the same time, I also can't speak accurately to every kind of sport and the different things that go into it. So I really think in these instances, the decisions are best left up to the professional governing bodies that dictate these particular sports.
I just feel like in places, as an ally, in places where there's no understanding, we can just respect and not really, like, our opinions don't fucking matter.
Eli, I saw you nodding your head over there.
Several times. So
yeah, the subtitles are trying to keep up, honestly.
This is more than about sports. This is about free and equal participation for transgender people in social life. And the right sees this as a socially acceptable way to begin to remove trans people from different engagements in our society. So it does just start with sports or bathrooms or locker rooms, something that they find is more acceptable. And then at this point, they start to move into education, getting
entitled
trans
to an
teachers
opinion, outlaw.
fired, banning trans books. This is a route that is very effective because it's seen as more acceptable. But it's also overlooking a lot of major details. Like, I mean, do y'all know how many trans women have won national titles?
One too many.
One. It's Leah Thomas is the only one.
Too many.
If women's sports were actually going to end in some way,
women's sports aren't ending. This isn't the downfall of women's sports. I know what's going to happen 10, 20 years from now. I just know.
International
also, I'm a woman.
Zero. No global titles.
I also sell drugs to kids on purpose.
I want to move on to a different topic. I want to talk about MeToo and sort of...
What's that?
It just, it cherry picks.
Yeah.
The reason that trans people haven't won these international competitions is because all the people at the top are saying, wait a minute, this probably isn't how our competition should go. But look at the collegiate level. Look at the high school level. Look at where organized sports start. And trans people that are coming in these specific roles, particularly trans women going into women's sports, are absolutely dominating.
Yeah. And what's also scary to me is like this whole debate of like trans people in sports is, in my opinion, hot take opinion, it's a slippery slope. I'm giving the slippery slope argument, okay, into wanting to trans the kids early, because the argument is like, oh, well, you know, if we give them hormones early enough, then they'll be able to be more, you know, closer to whatever they're trying to, whatever fake science they're trying to say, like they'll be closer to the men in sports if we just start them on hormones early, which is obviously horrible. Stop transing the kids. I don't give a single fuck if you disagree with me. Do not trans the kids. And I feel like nothing's happening in sports if trans people are included, and then people keep coming out with, well, you know, the science says that there is a difference between men and women, so having trans people in sports is unfair. That is only going to lead to people saying, well, just trans the kids then. Just have trans early, and then that'll just make it more fair, when the reality is that there's nothing wrong with being a biological man or a biological woman. And also, side note, okay? Side note, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a drag queen, okay? Don't have kids around drag queens. I'm putting that out there too. Do not bring kids to drag shows. Don't do it. But if you are a gay man and you want to dress up as a woman sometimes, fine. But don't change your gender, and do not have anything to do with children. Nothing. Children do not need to know that you dress up as a woman. Children do not need to be involved with you being dressed up as a woman. But I guess that's a little off topic. Putting that out there.
I guess, you know, to corroborate your point about transing the kids, like, you know, your brain isn't even fully developed until you're 25. Okay, so if you trans the kids, you are altering their brain chemistry before their brains even develop. Okay, so that's the argument. We should do that. Justify doing that. We should justify giving children that stuff before they're even able to be developed, to make them go in a certain direction. So what we're doing is we're saying that at the age of 11 or 12, children have enough self-judgment that they can make a more potentially life-altering decision about their bodies than they can for something like alcohol or weed or cigarettes. And we're treating it as almost like altering your body's hormones would not be as potentially destructive as starting them on alcohol or cigarettes really early, right? Like, why is all of a sudden it's safe for 11-year-old kids to just start pumping hormones when they, you know, like, where's the evidence for that, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, how can we, okay, so how can we make the argument that children are able to make a life-altering decision, like taking hormone-altering pills at an age like 11 or 12, right? But we take other things that could potentially alter your brain chemistry or alter your body physically in a negative way, and we put those off till 18, 21, those kinds of things. Why are hormones okay for children to make those decisions? Where'd that come from? And how are hormones less of a drug than cigarettes or less of a drug than alcohol?
Yep. But I mean, they're on their phones every day on social media, and social media is a drug, so.
That's dopamine. Yeah, we're overdosing them on dopamine, sure.
That's another video too.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. Here, talk to chat. Be right back, chat.
They don't want to talk to me. I'm gonna. No, I'm kidding. No, I have too much to say. But I'm a man, so you know. But I did identify as a woman before this started, so that might make it work. This is. Hello. I'm Ellie's brother. I'm also a YouTuber, but I'm a voice teacher, so like I'm not in the same lane as Ellie. Audio cut out? Can you not hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah. There's it's as a man, I'm pulling the man card. As a cis white straight man, I think that society has completely overlooked the fact that men are completely expected to do tasks and jobs and the selective service in the United States, things like that. We are expected to do those things. We are legally obligated to do lots of those things. But we can't say anything about that. And women can just opt out and say, let men do it. Right? So from that perspective, at what point is there really equity? Right? And at what point are people just acting entitled? At what point do you just say, well, I have all these other things that this patriarchy that I hate so much has given me, but I want more? I just don't understand where's the threshold here? At what point do people get to say, well, like, what have you done to deserve this? And I'm not talking about getting paid the same amount per hour. I'm not talking about abortion. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. I was a man when all this started. Like, I'm saying, like, at what point do people get to say, I'm asking for things that are more than what men get? Because after a certain point, it becomes unfair. Like, I don't see any women anywhere at all saying, I want to sign up for the selective service because men do it and I don't. I never hear that.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. I always wonder, like, if you are trans, do you still have to go in the selective service?
I looked that up. If you're born male, you have to sign up for the selective service. Yes, I did. I saw that already.
But if you, thanks, Carnivals. If you transition to a man, you don't.
You still do.
You still do.
You still do. If you are a biological male at birth, it does not matter how you identify.
Or if you're a biological woman and you turn into a man, are you in the selective service?
If you're a biological woman, you do not sign up for selective service, even if you transition into being a man.
Interesting. Okay, let's continue.
So Eli Ehrlich is in the selective service in theory.
Gotcha.
This social movement that we're living through right now, what is the state of feminism sort of in this post-Me Too era?
We're in post-Me Too?
All right.
Tell me.
Sorry, I got distracted by the Me Too part.
All right, I know I just said I would start over, but guess what? I have been affected by this whole thing as well. If we're talking about Me Too being, it's hard to talk about, obviously, because there are so many women that have been affected by the Me Too movement, and I think it's brought a lot of things to the light. I think it did help some women be a little less afraid to share their stories, but I think that the Me Too movement got very corrupt by liars as well. So it's really, really hard because, you should believe victims. I'm not trying to say that I deserve any, more attention than anyone else, but I've been, a victim in my own way as well. Some of you know about that story. Some of you don't. I've thought about making a video about it at some point. The whole 70-page thing about it is on my Twitter. But, I think that the Me Too movement did make more women less afraid to bring to light their abuse that they've had. But I also think that some people thought that it would be just a good opportunity for clout, and it turned into some corrupted bullshit, and it sucks because that really just takes away from the trauma that the women went through that really did go through abuse.
You're saying that it undermines the main point.
Yeah.
You're saying that it undermines. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
So I was like, we're post Me Too? Wow, like no one's getting like sexually harassed anymore. Like, oof.
We did it, guys. We solved the
Right?
problem.
We want that world. No, I think obviously the state of feminism is very much reflected right in this room. But Me Too for me, right, in a particular context, means something for different people. It's a different experience for different people. In my culture and in my community, we're still working through that. There is no post Me Too, right? We're still working through how do we have these tough conversations? How do we teach not just, women, but everyone about consent? What does consent look like? What does that look like in our community? What does that not look like, right? All those things that I think it's still very complicated. But I think it starts at the level of community, right? Of like, how do we have these conversations around consent?
Sydney, I saw your hand up.
So when the Me Too thing was unfolding, I was initially like, great, I love the idea of women being able to speak out. What's been really disappointing, I suppose, for me, post-Me Too, as we're calling it, is that, and especially as someone who's sort of on the right wing of politics, I think that a lot of the experiences of women on the right get a bit trivialized because there is a lot of politicizing of sexual assault. So when something legitimately happens on our side of the table and someone tries to speak up about it, there's almost an automatic disbelief. And I understand why. It's because of the believe all women type of stuff that came out of the Me Too movement, that a lot of us were like, wait a minute, no, people do use these situations for gain. People do make things up. People do lie. But it is sad to watch it happen. It makes me sad that we're here.
Jordan?
I feel like there'll never be a post-Me Too because at the heart of it, Me Too is just a phrase. The spirit of what Me Too represented will always be relevant, and that is that you are empowering individual women to advocate for themselves and speak out when they feel like they're being wrong. Ideally, you're just trying to be the most transparent and self-accountable person you can be, and you need to hit all of those fronts if you want it to last on a cultural level.
How about beauty standards? We talked a little bit about this.
All right, you called it,
brought
Zach.
up at the beginning.
I'll give it to you. You called it.
Into femininity.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm very into this idea because I do think it is one of the larger intersections that just doesn't get very discussed, which is, like I was talking about before, barriers and friction are placed up around bodies. And the fatter I get, the older I get, the less people will listen to me, the less value I will have for society. So, I'm already starting out as a woman with no legs. If I had something on my face, I have my beauty. That's one of my privileges. I have my whiteness. That's one of my privileges. I used to have thinness, and now I'm getting fatter. Things are changing. And I think every single time that we talk about feminism, pretty privilege should be discussed because we have these ideas. If your skin tone is this, if your hair is this, if your body looks like that, it's about whether or not you are given an equal opportunity based on what you look like.
I saw it.
All right. What I have to say about that is, first off, I will play the devil's advocate, as we do. I think that there is kind of a toxic rhetoric in society of the older a woman gets, the less she is valued. I do believe that pretty privilege exists, but it exists for men as well. I mean, also, what else did she say? Fat is beautiful. Haven't you heard that? Oh yeah, and the whiteness. The whiteness is literally cringe. So,
I got a different angle. Beauty standards cater to fans of the playground. Beauty standards were made by those types of people. Look at the crossroads that exist between people in these fashion industries and grooming and child models and all those kinds of things, where these beauty standards are accepted, and the idea is to retain your youth, right?
Right.
Well, that's where this comes from, right?
Yeah,
So
that's fair. Yeah, it's all about retaining your youth. And Outlaw says, you know, you don't lose your voice on your age or when you gain weight. And there, of course, like there are women that are looked up to that are older. And I actually think that, you know, society doesn't want women to know that women can become more beautiful as they age. And because but it's because they become smarter when they age, right? So that's why I'm not saying that, you know, I feel bad about aging now, but as an impressionable young adult in my early 20s, when you start to think about like, oh shit, I'm gonna hit my 30s and 40s, et cetera, the world is gonna look less at me, and I'm trying to think of like, oh, what am I gonna do when I'm not attractive anymore? Everyone gets old, right? Everyone's going to age. So I think that there is some sort of like pressure on women to try to, you know, not age, which we can't do, obviously. But like, oh, if you're older, you're going to be uglier. No one's going to listen to you. I don't agree with that. I think that women do get more beautiful as they age, and I do think that they become smarter, and therefore, you know, have an opportunity to be listened to more. And you know, I'm proof of that here. I mean, I'm only being listened to because Jeremy took a chance on me, and thank you again, Jeremy. But I don't think it's because of my age that I wasn't listened to before. I think it's because of my political opinions that I wasn't listening to before. And also that I tried to call out pedos, which is what Zach is trying to bring it all into. The reason why women feel like that they get less listened to as they get older is because the society, the elites or whatever, they're trying to push this rhetoric onto women that they are only useful when they're young. And I imagine there's some sort of that for men too, but as far as beauty standards specifically. That's what you're saying, Zach?
Well, I just think that to those people that are fans of Playground, once a woman hits a certain age, they're not useful anymore. So they got to make sure women are as useful as they can be. I think it's very simple. I think that they have no use for a woman who's 40 unless you're going to be Ghislaine. Then you're useful. But, you know, that only for the greater intents of, you know, being one that can procure more of those types that meet the beauty standards that said people want. Right. And I think that's why women are treated as being discarded once they reach a certain criteria or standard of one of these types that these people would idealize. And I'm being vague on purpose, but the idea is that until that element of the corporate elite structure, whatever you want to call it, patriarchy, whatever the word is, that puts these people that pursue these types of girls into this category, whatever puts them there, until that is dismantled, this problem will continue. And again, this will be a red herring. Saying beauty standards define women is a red herring, because it's not real unless you look at the world from the paradigm of a fan of the Playground.
Yeah,
the whole party falls apart if you take any other perspective than what one of those types of people would take when looking at women.
And I mean, beauty standards are everywhere because in any store that you go into, there's mirrors everywhere by the makeup section, right? Look at yourself till you find something is wrong with you. We have products that'll help you. If you find something that's wrong with you, you'll find something that's wrong with you eventually if you keep looking at yourself in all of these mirrors that surround you. Why don't you try lipstick? Why don't you try eyeliner? Right? Have you guys ever thought about that? I don't know if you guys thought about that, chat, but it was actually something me and Zach were talking about when we were shopping a couple months ago. We were like, just, you know, spending some time getting ice cream downtown, and we were in a store picking something up, and Zach noticed, like, I've never noticed how many mirrors are in stores here, and we noticed that
it's in the makeup section.
In the makeup section. Yeah, and the little like zoom in mirrors, they're meant to make you, you know, they're there because, oh, try on the makeup, you know, see what looks good on you. But it could also be argued that all of those mirrors are there to look at yourself until you find something that a product can fix.
Yep, and that's just marketing. But again, my point stands, because those industries with all the makeup and all the modeling and all that stuff were established by people who, you know, we know who they are, right?
Yeah.
The Balenciaga types, right? Yeah. That whole industry is rife with those types of people. So of course they're going to constantly remind you that if you aren't the right age, well, you got to buy this thing to be desirable. So we're going to remind you of how old you are everywhere you look.
Yep.
So that's how they sell it to you.
Yep, for sure. And I mean, am I a hypocrite right now because I'm wearing eyeliner? Well, I'm also, you know, putting my face on the internet, and I've done it before. I've put my face on the internet before without makeup on, but it makes me feel like a little more confident, right? And is that propagandized into me? Probably so.
Here's my perspective.
I can admit that.
But we're both in theater. I've been in theater my whole life, and you've been in theater too. And
Theater
like,
kids.
So in situations like theater, there's a practical reason for makeup because of the lighting on the stage. You need to bring out people's eyes and their mouths and their faces for the act, right?
Yep.
So I understand makeup on that in that vein of like in a practical sense, but I think that it's gone in the real world. In our world, it's gone from being a practical thing to a mask for people to wear that hides their lack of confidence. And that's the crossroads, right? That's the point where there's the intersection of like at what point does it become self-destructive to wear makeup? If you can't function without it, it's a problem.
Yep. All right.
You know, when the world collapses, when the apocalypse comes and you don't have your makeup, are you going to be able to be a functioning human being because you don't have your mask painted on?
No.
Okay. Well, see, I mean, I know you're joking, but there are people who probably, if the nuclear bomb went off, they can't put on their makeup, they probably feel bad about that, you know, and that's where it becomes a serious problem.
Guess who relies on the makeup industry? Trans women. Okay. Sorry.
I think a lot of times the women that complain about beauty standards don't complain about them when they got privilege, when they were young and attractive and thin. So it's like, yeah, you're complaining when the privilege is gone, but privilege is invisible to those who have it. And women, it's a privilege, and men don't turn 18 and get looks that we get.
As a Black woman, one of the most integral parts of the beauty conversation has been colorism. I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, proud of it and proud of being myself. For the most part, I did not. Why am I going to cry about this? I did not grow up thinking I was beautiful because I was that. And I think in the Black space, we have these conversations, but I think I'm glad I bring it up because I think feminists actually really should be part of the colorism topic, because colorism is not just shades within being Black, it's shades because the beauty standard is the closer to whiteness you are, the more beautiful you are. I think it's something that...
And that's not fair.
More people in different shades,
that's not okay.
particularly white women, because of knowing that standard, and we work together on that, then we have a lot, I think, something we can unify on, but also something that we can make strides in right now that I'm just not seeing. And it's only, again, that's why people feel like you have to be a Black feminist, because it's a topic that only really Black feminists are talking about because it deals with being Black.
Yeah,
How do beauties...
I'm literally the opposite. I'm a straight white man, right? But I know this is going to sound like one of those arguments, but I have a Black friend who's explained this to me in great detail how all this works, and I kind of get it about as much as a white dude that's had it explained to can.
Right.
And there is this thing within the African American culture where, like, the darker you are, the less desirable you are by the African American community.
Yeah, it's really sad, and of course, like, we should try to get away from that. You know, to be white does not mean that you are more beautiful than Black, or you know, at all. And if she is experiencing that, or if that affected her growing up as a young woman, then that's horrible. You know, she's not any less beautiful because she's Black, and there should be no issue of race. It shouldn't be an issue of race. The whole thing is we're talking about women's issues, and you shouldn't have less of an opinion because you are a Black or white woman. I mean, everyone is entitled to their opinion. That's why I have my brother on call with me, even though he is a man. He loves me, and I'm a woman. He loves his mother. He loves his friends, right? He has girlfriends. Like, he's gonna have a wife one day. There's nothing wrong with having the feminist debate. If your goal is just, you know, to care about women and care about this topic. So.
Yeah, I think that the issue with the skin color, I think that it is another form of the same type of thing that they're talking about with generalized beauty standards, because there is one like idealized way that a group of people is supposed to look based upon some authoritative figure making that propaganda, and as a result hurting the women of that group internally. And so again, it's like, yes, there may be some power structure that's causing people to feel this way about themselves, but it's not just the men. And you have to look at the core of where these things are coming from to understand where the institutional and structural problems exist. And so the big problem, the big fallacy here is that there's this big generalized fight the patriarchy, fight men, men are the problem. When a lot of these institutions are owned by men, but the men that are doing it are that are in these positions of power have specific perversions or specific what's the word? I can't think of the word. Proclivities or propensities towards certain types, and they try to shape the social strata based upon what they want, and that's the problem.
Yep.
Standards make you feel, Morris?
I mean, kind of what you're saying, Antonia, as a Black Latina woman in my community, right? Like, I grew up and I was ugly, right? Like, that's what I was considered. I was not considered beautiful.
I was very ugly too, by the way.
I was, right? Had a lot to do with what is believed in my community, right? Colorism is one of them. And so to say, I'm gonna redefine beauty for myself, and to say, I own myself and I get to decide what's beautiful, right? And I get to decide what I wanna wear and how I wanna wear it. And I don't need to, right? It's almost a repelling, right? Like, I'm like, no, you know what? I am beautiful. I'm gonna do what I wanna do, and I'm gonna feel myself, because if no one else is gonna feel me, it's on me to feel me too.
I gotta say though, I did grow up being referred to as very beautiful for a woman.
I wanna talk after this. I think oh man, I had a thought. I really did. Wait, can I just play that again? It's kind of off of what she. Oh right, okay. I want to talk after this about how feminist movements and like making women talk about beauty standards and stuff and being confident in their own skin per se has led to excessive narcissism from women. I want to talk about that after this is over. That reminded me of it.
Say, I own myself, and I get to decide
because it's good to be
beautiful,
proud of yourself,
right? And
but
I get to decide what I want to wear and how I want to wear it, and I don't need to, right? It's almost a repelling, right? Like, I'm like, no, you know what? I am beautiful. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and I'm gonna feel myself, because if no one else is gonna feel me, it's on me to feel me too.
I gotta say though, I did grow up being referred to as very beautiful for a woman with a disability. And that to me always fed this idea that disability doesn't mean beautiful. I am in some form of exceptionalism, which I then had to keep up with forever. So it's like, I got this thought as I started to age, like, you can have no legs, but you better not fucking get fat. And so this idea that like, there are certain people who are beautiful and certain people who aren't, and that inherently holds value is, I think, you know, find it in yourself, yes. And
Jordan?
Beauty standards are toxic bullshit hierarchical nonsense. And I say that as someone who has spent over a year collectively of my life in eating disorder institutions, because I have tried to put my body through hellish things to meet these beauty standards, which more often than not are not based in reality. They're typically trends, they're created to push things, they're extremely useful for marketing, but they don't serve anyone's health, they don't serve anyone's self-esteem. They only act to try and tell us that there's a allegedly right way to have a body, and if you don't occupy that space and have that body, then you're a piece of shit, which is absolute nonsense. And there are way too many women and men in the world who end up doing terrible things to themselves because they fall into this trap of thinking that you have to be this way. And if you aren't this way, then there's something inherently wrong at your core, which is nonsense.
Can that argument be made about trans people? That people, I mean, is it related? Can I relate that? Like what she was just talking about there, I think what she said was valid. But that pressure sounds to me like something external that's pushed on somebody's mind until they, you know, however she worded it, I'm paraphrasing, but like until they mess with their bodies to kind of fit what they think they should be.
That's literally the core of it. You are perfect the way you are, and anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is feeding into this industry and is just, they are not your friend or looking out for you.
Layla?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, beauty in the industry is exploitative, but also we have to remember a lot of the beauty standards are based around health, what's perceived as health, like symmetry, certain weights, things like that.
Is being symmetrical
there is
healthy?
That side where we have to balance it, and I think we're seeing some.
Okay, that's a question. I really don't know what she means by that.
She's actually a little bit. She's misquoting that. Like she's kind of misappropriating it. Symmetry is psychologically and physiologically and genetically, biologically attached to attractiveness. So like, there's been a lot of studies that have shown that people that are more symmetrical in nature, when you put them like, if you put them like on a wall and you drew line right down the middle of their body and like superimposed both sides of them, the more symmetrical someone is, the more attractive they are.
Okay, so that's back on beauty standards. I thought she was talking about symmetry. I must have misheard her. I thought she was talking about health. She's like, it's also misconstrued.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She conflated the issues. What I'm saying, she made a mistake. That's what I'm saying. She made a mistake.
Yeah. Okay.
So much more representation, which I think is incredibly important.
Well, I just think that like, if women really cared about beauty standards, like the obesity rate wouldn't be what it is.
But what
That's
about
trying
you?
to attain the beauty standards. I just think like some people are more attractive, some people are less attractive, and that's just, where would I rate myself 1 to 10?
Well, we're not rating. It's okay.
That's what I mean. Like I just think like some people are more attractive.
So if you are overweight, you don't care about beauty standards.
Well,
is that right?
the point is that the beauty standard is thin, right?
Your standard?
Obesity comes from men and women, though.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. But I'm saying if women really wanted to fit the beauty standard, they would be thin.
I know, from my experience as well, is growing up, again, in a mostly white neighborhood but I was always comparing myself to literally other people who have a different body type, but I was considered other or to something because it didn't conform to that body type. When that same body type became popular with Kim Kardashian, the Kardashians, who are different, right, than me, let's just say, are different skin color, right? And there's a lot of animosity, and a lot of Black communities of the fact that when it was on Black skin, it was an issue, but when it was on Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, it was $1 billion business.
Yep.
That's not
Our
true.
time together has almost come to an end. We sort of started talking about feminism, big picture. We're going to try again. Is feminism dead?
I think feminism is alive, and I'm thankful to be a participant and believer of it.
I would say, as far as the West goes, I think that feminism has been cannibalized by other movements like leftism, like transgenderism.
So I think feminism is very much alive and well. I think it takes different forms depending on who you're talking to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And as I've defined in the beginning, for me, I use it as a lens. So I don't think I'll ever stop having it in my arsenal, if you will. It makes for a good vice panel.
Okay, we're done. I appreciate everybody taking the time. I know this is...
We're done. Well, that was enlightening.
Enlightening? That's a generous application of the term.
I don't know, chat. What do you think? What do you guys think? I think that Sydney did get very edited. I could tell. As an editor myself, I could tell how much she was edited.
Yeah, I saw a comment, I don't remember who said it in the chat a little while back, that said something like women are given, disproportionate attention when they're younger and they get opportunities that men don't because men aren't respected in their careers until they're in their 30s, at like 30, 35, something like that. And that is very true. And that kind of goes back to the point of what I said earlier about, you got to ask for a raise as a woman, how do you ask for more money? Well, men don't even get looked at as like you just get looked at as like second rate if you're not old enough. It's like ageism works the other way around with men. Like if you're not a 35-year-old man, you're very, very likely not going to get the super corporate position that pays really well because you're just not old enough. So it's kind of inverted, men, 20-year-old men are treated as like, well, you're a young buck and you got all the energy to do all the hard labor. And, we know that you're going to struggle, get used to it, pull up your bootstraps and work. You know, that's kind of the attitude. But then once you get to be 35 or 30, 35 in the corporate spheres, they start saying, well, you're now capable of taking on the responsibilities. And so I get that. I definitely understand that too. It makes a lot of sense.
I don't know why people always say that men can't have an opinion on feminist issues, because if women really want to win the fight of equality, then that means that they're going to need men to be on their side. And if women keep vilifying men just for having opinions on these things and wanting to have discussions with them, if they keep cutting them down and saying like, oh, you're a man, therefore you don't, you can't have an opinion on women's issues, then it's only going to keep women marginalized. But is that the point?
I'm always going to go back to and lean on the thing that when I start seeing feminists argue in America, feminists in America, that they want to be in the selective service, that's when I will say that they're really fighting for things to be equal between men and women. Until I see that, I will always be able to say, look, you are saying I don't want the government to make me expendable like men can be to them.
Yeah, I say eliminate that entirely.
I do too, but you don't see that argument. You see people dodging it.
Yeah.
Every time you bring it up, they dodge it. Well, that's, somebody's got to be in the military or well, that's dodging the point. That's moving the goalposts, but it's not. Because in a truly equal world between men and women, everyone's in either the selective service does not exist or both men and women are equally in it.
Yeah.
And so, as long as that exists, and then there is no equality. Even if men and women had the exact same everything across the board, if only the selective service existed, then it wouldn't be fair toward men. So that's the core of my argument. Until I see feminists start arguing to put women, either abolish the selective service or put women in the selective service, they're not arguing for equality. That's
fair. Outlaw asked me as an editor, what do I think the possible accuracy of the zoom-ins? I think some of them were accurate. I did notice, like, what I would notice on the side is, like, if I could hear, like, if it was zoomed in on Sydney, right, and someone else was talking, I would try to see, like, the side of their head to see if, like, it makes sense that they were talking at the same time, even though it was zoomed in on her. And I feel like, I'd say, like, 70% felt really accurate to me. Of ones that I noticed anyway. Of course, they're always going to do the zooms of the, oh my God, I can't believe she said that, And this is going to be the make or break of my channel, I think. I don't think I've ever been so politically honest on this channel before this point. Like someone said earlier in the chat, like, wow, you really picked something to start off your new YouTube. Yeah, I really did. I thought, hey, I'm a woman. I have thoughts. I have a brother who is a male, and he has opinions, and he loves me, and and what's crazy is, like, people are gonna try to call me a bigot or a homophobe or call Zach a homophobe or whatever, but, like, I'm bisexual and he's an ally. He doesn't love me any less because I'm bisexual. He doesn't disrespect gay people. I don't disrespect gay people either. I just think that people should get a chance to be healthy gay adults before they mess with their genetics as children. Like, that's my number one thing. Like, don't mess with the kids. That's it. Which is why having Eli on this thing really is insulting more than anything, because not only is Eli not a biological woman, but Eli also is a danger to children.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. All of these intersectional movements, just it's like creeping more and more towards, well, we got to get them younger to get them into this, right? Like, we got to get them with seeing what drag is earlier. We got to get them on hormones, right? We got to teach them about.
I gotta look up Lauren Chen. Go ahead.
You gotta teach them about all these certain theories early on, like all these. It's like we gotta get the kids. We gotta get the kids, and that in and of itself is from 1984, because the whole thing is the children become equipped through the education and the propaganda to police the adults.
Yeah,
and that's what it's coming to. That was Eli Ehrlich. Yes, that was Eli Ehrlich. That's the horrendous, terrible human being, Eli Ehrlich. Yes.
Yep, the one with the white hair. Yeah, and it's insulting that they're even on this Vice interview at all, and the way that Eli was so creepy with the looking at the announcer, like, yeah, get me next, like, look at me, like, yeah, the one that was like, oh, yeah, sexual liberation. I can't even get pregnant. Okay. So like like your argument is more valid than my brother, who not only loves me and wants to support me having a kid one day, but also wants his own child one day. Why is his argument less valid than Eli Ehrlich, who literally puts children in danger and can't get pregnant?
Yeah, like, and the thing is, if the trans community wants respect, why is that person their spokesperson?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, why is that the best they got?
And also I understand that not all women can get pregnant. Not all biological women can get pregnant. And that is horrible. That is absolutely horrible. And of course, my heart goes out to them, and they deserve an opinion on abortion just like everybody does, right? And therefore, well, Ellie, if you believe in free speech, then you have to say that trans people deserve an opinion on abortion. Sure, yeah, you can have an opinion on abortion, but you also have to be able to listen to other opinions on abortion. And that's really the whole problem, right? That's really why I creeped on into the community that I'm in now with all of you guys here, because you guys are open to like, yeah, here's my opinion, and I'm open to listen to yours, and that's that, right? But a certain group says, oh no, there are certain opinions that are above other ones, and those ones that are above other ones are the ones that agree with me. Like, there might be people in my chat that are 100% pro-life, and I respect that. You know, I believe in having children, right? I think it's wonderful. I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm pro-life and pro-choice, so I guess I'm pro-choice. Is that what that means? But I think there are extreme cases, but like I said before, it is not fair to guilt women into or out of abortions, because at the end of the day, it is a really hard procedure for sure, and you shouldn't just trivialize abortion.
Yeah, well, going back to that topic, I said that people do that. What I meant is, like, there are people that have been on social media, like, with, like, tattoos or, like, signs or, like, having some way that they keep track of the number of abortions that they have, and they celebrate it every time they have one. I've seen it. You can find it if you look for it. There's people that have had, 10, 12, 15 of them, and they wear it as, like, as a crowning jewel. Like, that's a great thing. But at what point does it just become irresponsible? And I think that's the core argument, because you can't rely on the system to bail you out. And it, I don't know. It's.
Go ahead.
I mean, what is that? Is that even? Morality is this weird thing, right? But
yeah, Sean, I am.
It's a weird topic, but I don't know. What do you do in that case? Like, at what point do you say abortion is too much? If you've had 20 that are funded by the state.
Right, and they even mention that too. They're like, well, you can't say that, 2 is too many, because, most women, like a certain percentage of women have had 2 abortions. Like,
yeah, but when the state's funding it, then what? When you go to somewhere that's funded by the state, and you say, oh, this is my 15th abortion, then it's the taxpayer paying for it. And then at what point can you say, like, this is too much?
Yeah, I mean,
if I'm not paying for your sexual irresponsibility.
If I am healthy and able, odds are I would have that child. And if I can't, it is what it is. If I can't medically, then, it is what it is. But there's nothing wrong with having children. And people, this is the argument of the population control. It's a population control argument. I guess it could be another video, but yeah, in about 30, 40 years, people are going to regret not having children.
Yeah, because what's going to happen is there's going to be an entire generation with a big old gap in the amount of people in it, and all the older people are going to say, uh-oh, we don't have the 20, 25, 30-year-olds to do all that work that we aren't going to pay them well for. Who's going to do it? AI? Uh-oh, well, all of a sudden we don't have as much control over the outcomes of things that we do anymore because AI are doing it. Or, it just won't get done. Or the old people have to do it on their own. I mean, like, yeah, it definitely, absolutely. The implications of the future are very scary for our generation, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, outlaw. It's true too. Like, there are toxic men that push their partners into getting abortions. Our father. we're not gonna bore you with our daddy issues, but
I'll be right back. You go ahead.
But yeah, our father was one of those, right? One of those people who kind of pushed for abortions, and thank God, our moms did not do that, right? That makes us be able to be here to speak with you guys. So I guess you can't just blame women about it. I suppose you could also kind of blame men too in that situation. It takes two to tango, right? It takes two people to make a child, and if the guy pushes the woman into a corner about it, or sometimes literally, pushing women into getting an abortion, then it's just all really terrible. Really terrible. Glad he sucked at debate. Oh man. Yeah. List of logical women gaining fame. Good.
Yep.
Good.
One thing that I think was what stuck out to me was one of the arguments that the girl with the girl with her coin collection on her shirt, she was like, why do you hate women?
Oh yeah, why do you just hate women? Like that's always their argument, right? It's always you're hating, so you're the problem. Yeah,
you're disagreeing. Well, why does a disagreement mean that you hate somebody? And why does saying I don't think that this is the best option mean you're afraid of it? Because I'll tell you, I'm not afraid of any of these marginalized groups. Oh, but I'm the patriarchy. That's right. That's why.
You can't have an opinion. Okay, you're a man. Okay. You obviously either hate them or you are afraid of them.
I hate women so much that I just spent an hour listening to a bunch of crap. I hate women so much.
Yeah. He hates women so much that, he would literally die for me. Because I'm his little sister and he loves me. Yep. And maybe I'll have people comment on this video later because this VOD is up now. I've planted my flag, that's for sure. My flag has been planted, so I hope y'all stick with me because oh man, if I thought I got people unfollowing me before after this VOD. My flag has been planted. You'd be surprised. Until the quartering really helped me gain some traction, you'd be surprised at how many people really turned their back on me before I even started talking about this stuff, like women's issues, trans issues, that kind of thing. But you'd be surprised. People I've known for over a decade in real life, people that I grew up with in school, would just betray me, turn their back on me because I was speaking out against pedos. So.
Yeah, I mean, and it's sad that we can't even necessarily.
I went back to the beginning to watch the whole video. Please do. Thank you.
I can't even say we're taking a risk just by saying that these people are what they are. Like when I talk about where the beauty standards come from, I can't say that it's from those types. I can't even do it. I can't, because that puts you at risk of being demonetized or canceled or whatever because you're talking about one of those subjects that's just a no-go, right?
Yep.
And it's ridiculous. It should not be like that.
Oh, thank you, Taurus. I love Taurus, by the way. Taurus is one of my favorite signs. My brother's a Taurus moon. Anyway, that's when you're doing DVD videos. Oh yeah. Okay, so just doing my controversial Dead by Daylight video, I lost 200 followers on Twitter. 200, which by the way, please follow me on Twitter, Ellie in Videoland. Because of the quartering and all you wonderful community, I actually gained 100. So just finding the right community really helped gain back half of what I lost from just, speaking my mind and calling out the corruption of those communities. It's nutty. I watched it happen. And, numbers don't matter, right? But I definitely took a long break off of social media. I don't even have Facebook on my phone anymore. I deleted Snapchat off my phone. I think that it is another topic. This isn't, women anymore. It affects women, of course, and children too. But, I don't have those socials on my phone anymore because they get into your brain and you think wow, why did I lose 200 followers because I'm trying to call out pedos in a community? or that I got victimized by a pedo. Like, why are people unfollowing me for that? Like, what did I do wrong? And that's a toxic, what do you say, Zach? A
Paradigm?
loop. It's a toxic paradigm, a loop, negative feedback loop.
Oh yeah, it's a negative feedback loop. Yes. Yep.
Yes, exactly. I gained a lot of people because Jeremy took a chance, and that is amazing. I was saying this yesterday. I was telling Zach, like, I was about to hang it up, man. I literally, right before that video with the quartering, I was saying, like, look, my voice doesn't matter. I thought, like, no one wants to hear my opinions. No one agrees with me on anything. No one's willing to even talk to me about these things. There's just no use. I was about to hang up content creation at all, and now I have so many like-minded, open-minded people that I've streamed 2 days in a row. I streamed on Twitch yesterday, and I'm streaming on YouTube today. So that'll just tell you that it feels nice to have open discussion. And you guys are perfectly, it's your opinions, and I respect them, and you are more than welcome to disagree with me or Zach of what we have to say, and I will try my best to, speak my opinions and my viewpoints in a way that is logical and concise and respectful. All I ask for is the same in return, and what I learned from doing the Dead by Daylight videos. If you guys haven't seen it, it's ridiculous. The comments on that video, and the fact that someone literally put me on their live stream so they could get their viewership to mass dislike my videos to get me out of the algorithm. Yes, that happened. It's that mob mentality that it's overwhelming for sure.
Yep. It's like I said to her the other day when she was telling me, she's wanting to give it up. I've been telling her for a while, like, we just got to find you a new audience. We got to find you a group of people that want to hear what you have to say, because she does have valid opinions. As you all can hear, Ellie's extremely intelligent, and she was putting her thoughts and her ideas and her points and her views on things into an audience that was only looking for an echo chamber or a hive mind.
Right.
And what's interesting to me is that I would not call myself a right winger. I would call myself a hard centrist. And if I had to identify myself as something, like, I'm a hard centrist. But like, when I look at things from both angles, when you talk about left, the idea is liberalism, right? Liberal means to have more of, to give more, to include more. But when you talk about ideas, the left tends to be less open to ideas than the right, which is conservative. Conservative means, like, conserving more, taking more, keeping more. So, like, there's this weird thing where the left doesn't want to hear ideas. And so I knew that Ellie needed her audience to go away from these, like, toxic gamers that are all a bunch of liberals into a more inclusive, ironically I say that, more politically inclusive audience. And it's been wonderful just in the few days that we've had this. I've seen her attitude toward all of this just explode. You guys have made her demeanor and her attitude about being a content creator again blossom, and it's a great thing to see. So I appreciate all of you for that.
Thanks, Zach. Only 45 likes. Yeah, people get into that mindset of, like, oh, I only have 45 likes. I need more. And I'm not like that either. I'm overwhelmed by how many people are liking my videos and stuff. That is absolutely amazing. And I know that it's really detrimental for people's mindsets when they think, like, oh, I only have 45 likes. I need more likes, or people don't like me. But if you think about that in real terms, like, having 45 people like your content means that you filled up what is something that has 45 seats? A bus? No, more than a bus.
It depends on the size of the bus, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, like a huge ass bus. All those people like you, right? If people need to start thinking about it in that regard, but they don't. So, and so Zach and I have our own little side project that is just our political opinions. I know I saw your comment about, like, how I should have a side channel of just my voice versus my gaming content. And I think going forward, I do want to do live streams like this and do reactions on live on YouTube. And I'll still do 2 Twitch streams a month probably, because I have subs over there that I appreciate them supporting me. But if you guys want to see just our uncensored craziness, I don't know, should I tell them, Zach?
No, well, so I mean,
we have a name on the internet. It is a thing.
So if you don't mind me outlining the strategy publicly, I think that you're growing on this channel, and since I'm a YouTuber and I know how YouTube works, you need to grow here before you branch out to others. Otherwise, you will disseminate and spread your audience out too much.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The growth won't focus here. So I think you should
Right.
continue doing this now, and then you should then once you get big enough and people start seeing, like, you'll be able to see in the analytics, oh, everybody on this video on this channel is looking at your games more than your political stuff. Then once you've got, you know, however many thousand followers, let's just say 30,000 subscribers, then you can say, okay, I see a lot of you are really devoted to watching my political commentary. I'm starting this other channel. Everybody go subscribe to it, and I'll do all of our podcasts on that, and then we can do the other brand. I mean, if people want to subscribe to that, they can. But I mean,
man, the idea of having 30K subs is like, that's
I don't have that
unreal.
many, yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about numbers. It makes me nervous to even think about that. But what I want to do,
grow more.
Exactly, and I do want to let this grow more, because I want me as Ellie. I like community. I like being able to talk to you guys on a more personal level. I like being able to discuss things. And yes, I'm a gamer. I've had some people come over that are like, okay, I'm from the quartering, but I'm not really into gaming, but I appreciate you wanting to expand and talk about subjects in the world, and so I'll stick around. And so what I really want to do with this channel is, like I said, have these live streams where I react and I talk to you guys, and you guys react to things too. And feel free to send me stuff like on Twitter or in the comments of things that you'd want to see in a live stream that I react to. And if you want Zach there for a male opinion, then that's cool too. So I'm gonna do this, but as far as like video content, what I really want to do is put more political opinions and real world situations and kind of connect them to gaming, because gaming is at my core very important to me. And I think people can take video games and the environment that video games create very seriously. You know, it's a creative artwork that has so many deep subjects that you can dive into. So for example, this is spoiler alert, but my next video is going to be on AI with video games involved. So yeah, so there's so much to say about artificial intelligence in the world and how it's growing and how it could be a detriment or helpful to society. And that's the kind of content that I want to do for like my main videos. Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be a great video. I'm working on the script right now, and it'll be kind of like my Dead by Daylight video, except instead of, you know, telling about the corruption and my real personal experience, it'll be essay style like that, and it'll be cut into sections like that. It'll be the same kind of like me just sitting here talking directly to you guys about this game that I really love and how it is the idea is integrated into real life, because it could very well be a reality. That's why it's such a good game. The game is Detroit Become Human, by the way, which I 100%ed because I'm an achievement hunter and I'm a gamer too. So, and then also I want to do some live streams where I play games too. On the docket, I'd like to play Heavy Rain as well. So that's kind of what I want to do for the future of this channel. Does Zach have a channel? Yes, you can look at his name there, Zach Ansley. You can search him in the search bar for YouTube. Zach Ansley Vocals is his like kind of channel thing. He's a vocal coach, a vocal teacher. But you can just YouTube his name and you'll find him.
Yep, just search for this.
But he doesn't do this kind of stuff on his channel. But maybe not yet.
That's not my brand.
And we do have a secret Twitter account that's in the web sphere that's just me and him, that we, you know, hit people with the science sometimes, but you know, it's nothing crazy. Rumble is great. I do have a Rumble, actually. I've been told by the community, by the Quarterings community, that especially with the topics that I'm talking about, you know, these days, that I really should start putting my stuff on Rumble, because who knows when YouTube will smash that hammer on me, you know what I mean? Like, try to censor me, try to cut me down, you know, that's next. Up until now, I had some copyright strikes. I remember the first time I got a copyright strike, I was so upset. It was when I when I first went viral. I went viral doing Phasmophobia tutorial videos because I like ghost hunting and I like ghosts and stuff. So it was a natural fit for me. And one of my videos got, I think that one has like 80,000 views or something. I literally used like 6 seconds of a Michael Jackson song, and it got cut, and I didn't get a single dime from that video. And I was just like, okay, YouTube, I see you. I see you. But you know, we can't talk about that. Who's on whose hand here? Have any of you seen Inside by Bo Burnham? Because it's the best. And I want to play that for you, but I might get copyright struck if I do, so I probably shouldn't. Your thoughts on Ukraine and Russia? That is extremely off topic. I don't know.
Yeah, nope.
that probably needs to be a different video. Let's just say the whole thing is corrupt.
Thank you, Tal. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you feel like, you know, I represent your voice. I'm glad.
I hope Elon buys Rumble. Gothics is a good one. I actually was watching Gothics last night. I watched her get canceled in real time. I was wondering what happened to her. Oh yeah, many people's attention span is 12 seconds. You're right. Like, I learned that in freshman year of college, right? Freshman year of college, I learned in advertising, your goal is to keep their attention. The first 8 seconds is everything. The first 8 seconds. That's what we learned in college. So that's where the attention spans are, which is why TikTok is so popular, but TikTok is evil. I say that, and I have one, so that might sound a little hypocritical, but in my defense, I went viral and had one before I knew it was evil. So it's tough. But the only time that I've been on there since I learned about what's really going on behind TikTok's door, I will not like scroll. I will post things if I feel like I should, but I don't actually ever like casually watch TikTok. I just don't do it. Like I said, I've been having a lot less time on social media lately, and I think it's been good for my mental health. I only really watch funny gaming videos. Well, most of my videos on this channel, I mean, going forward, they're going to be about more subjects like this, but all of my videos previously are funny videos. You should watch the ones with me and my brother. They're freaking hilarious. We played Overcooked together. We've played Elden Ring together. It's hilarious. We played Portal 2 together. That video is so awesome. And, you know, of course, I love the content that I make, right? Because it makes me really proud to share it. So if you like just strictly funny content, if you can't handle the political debate because the world is fucking insane and crazy and it's hard to handle, I understand that. And it's good to just be entertained sometimes. And I have a lot of videos that are just funny, you know, just a good old time. I have one that I demonetized myself on purpose, that me getting very drunk and playing Civilization 5 with Zach. That's a good video too. Just go to my stream highlights playlist and have a good time. That's where the gems are, for sure. But if you want to know why I got canceled, watch Dead by Daylight, A Blight on Humanity Designed to Hook You. That's the video that got me canceled. I'm gonna start playing Bulletstorm. Gaming politics are my 2 favorite forms of entertainment. Nice. Been a lot of things, political things going on with video games. Yeah, for sure. And I kind of want to bring them together. I mean, Elon's stepping down, right? Like that's his whole thing. He said, you know, if I'll abide by this poll, right? It is definitely an interactive movie for sure. So you have to like really sit down and indulge. And I was going for a specific achievement with that, which is why I'm going to make 2 videos, one about my honest review and critique of the game and how I played it, and another one about an analysis of AI in the world in general and how it's going to progress, because how I played it in the playthrough, the 4K one that I uploaded, is definitely not at all how I played it by myself. And so if you are able to get it, I understand that, you know, money is tight these days and all that. So if you can't afford to buy the game, I definitely recommend you watching my playthrough, because, you know, it's in 4K and I exported it for 4 days, so it could be in 4K for all of you and all that. But it's definitely one of those games that is like an interactive movie, so you being able to make your own choices is, I would argue, is very integral and important to the story. But I mean, that playthrough, I was going for a specific achievement at the time, so you can watch that playthrough and, you know, get your opinions on the core is still there. It's an amazing game, no matter what ending you get or see, right? So it's worth it. It's worth it. If you can't play it, then please watch it, and I'm gonna be having 2 videos on it soon TM. I would back up all your YouTube videos in Rumble. Okay, I will do that. Spicy topics, yes. Turn that up on second monitor while doing something else would suit me. What are you talking about? Yeah, Hexuni did watch it. Remind me of who? Sorry, I'm a little behind on chat here. No death Elden Ring playthrough. You will see through the videos that I made in the stream highlights that we died many times. No death. If you want to see no death Elden Ring playthrough, go watch my boy Otstarva. He's a really cool guy. He's like one of the coolest Twitch streamers out there. And he plays DBD, and he's in the Entitled Elite, but I will never say an ill word about Otstarva at all. I've met him in person. He was super respectful to me, super cool guy, respect him so much. You know, he's a Twitch streamer and he plays Dead by Daylight. So it's not that I hate people who play the game at all, even though that's what they'd want you to think. It's just, and he's even in the Entitled Elite, who I call out, but he didn't get upset about it. He was just like, you know, he hasn't made a public statement about it because obviously he couldn't. It's his brand on the line, but you know, he's a good person. And I think that if he did watch my video, I think he would see the message behind it. YouTube doesn't care about the mental health of their content creators, do they? Oh, they just care about retention. They just care about those likes. They care about what you're clicking on. They care about you getting that ad revenue. The mental health of the creators doesn't matter. Of course not. Why would it? We're expendable. Why would they care about us if we're so expendable? There's so much competition. You know, oh, if you don't want to work 7 days a week, we'll find someone who does. And it's like that, you know, for Twitch streamers or any content creation, I would argue. Listening to Zach pop off on the last video made me think, why are all my thoughts coming from a different voice? Nice. Yeah, and I mean, I understand that the people who make the music want their piece of the pie, you know, if it's an original song. Like, people on YouTube shouldn't be able to just say it's their music, but I also don't really find a problem with sampling music if you want to share something with people, as long as you say, like, you know, no copyrights or whatever. But my question is, if I demonetized a video, could I play music on it?
Well, you could play. So the way that works is you can play music on any video that you want. It depends on how the copyright holder responds to it. YouTube doesn't have a set rule on it, but they base their judgment upon copyright claims that are made by the Content ID algorithm that detects the copyrighted material being put into your videos. So, for example, I have a video that I was talking about Michael Ockerfeld from Opeth, and that video got banned in like 160 countries. Okay. But the thing is, I've also got a video, so we got a copyright claim that was banned. I've also got some videos that got copyright claims where the copyright holder gets all the ad revenue. But I've also got some that got copyright claims where the copyright holder gets half of the revenue. But then I've also got some that got a copyright claim where it didn't change anything. And then I've got some where there's no copyright claim at all. It really depends upon what the owner of the copyright wants to do. And with something like Thriller, that's such a massively popular song, and there's so much usage of it, that they want to suck up as much ad revenue as they can because it's going to be frequently used.
Yeah, and that's fair. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, and so YouTube doesn't deal with, like, if you want to go to a lawyer and be like, oh well, I'm using this for fair use. I mean, that you can do that, but like as a little tiny content creator, you're gonna hire an attorney for $5,000 to do a fair use claim on ad revenue that might be $100 over a year. Like, of course not. So they get away with just saying, well, our algorithms do this copyright stuff for us, so deal with it.
I go Paragon Path in every game I can. Nice. That reminds me of when I played Mass Effect. Mass Effect was an awesome game. Mass Effect 1, 2, 3. Would you play The Wolf Among Us? I mean, maybe. Do you think there's have you played it, Zach?
Yeah, of course. Remember I told you that when you were choosing Detroit Become Human, we said Heavy Rain, Detroit Become Human, or The Wolf Among Us.
Okay, so I guess that'll be after Heavy Rain.
It's great. Yeah, it's like fairy tales set in like a dark modern city environment where it's like the dark underbelly. If the fairy tales are set in the dark underbelly of the world rather than the happy, whatever.
Yeah, I want to play anything that I could really bring into a video where I can talk about like political real world issues through gaming. So I'm not gonna make an analysis of Fortnite. You know what I mean? But storyline games that have critical thinking. Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wolf Among Us would absolutely fit into that. Absolutely.
Get back. Bathroom.
Okay.
Well, what should we do next? I mean, there's another video from Vice about the pro-right feminists that have been popping up that we could watch, or we could end it here, or we could do some more discussion. What do you guys think?
I'm fine to do whatever. I mean, I need to get some water, but yeah, I mean, whatever you want to do.
Can I do a poll? All right, yeah, we'll do a poll. Oh, it's only a yes or no thing. Okay, I'll do that. So should we watch Vice's other video? Watch Vice on pro-right women. And if you say no, okay, I see. Yep. Nope. Chatting. We could just chat like this. I can bring Zach in here if you guys want. Yeah, so let's see. All right, be right back.
Ellie, before you go, they've been saying that they can't. Some of them said they can't really hear me. I don't know if you're gone. You might want to turn it up.
Are you? You're turned up all the way.
I don't know. Well, I'm right by my mic, so maybe it's fine. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, be right back, guys.
Voted. I guess it doesn't matter since I'm the one doing the chat, and I don't really care what we do. Why is it saying this? Go away. It says when you send a message, people will be able to see that you subscribe to this channel. Well, of course. We could talk about AI taking over art. Yeah. Well, so that's actually something that I think she's going to discuss in the video that she makes about AI. I think that's a topic she's going to cover. Mic volume input. I don't know. I mean, I'm actually talking with Ellie through Discord. Like I'm in the other room, and she can hear me okay. So I don't really know where it's coming from. Problem with YouTube is automatic AI striking and claiming, even then, especially when it's not warranted. Yes, that's absolutely true because if you check out my channel, most of my videos are analyzing singers. So I'm a professional voice teacher, and I don't do the reacts to thing. I mean, it's kind of like, I guess, in a reaction format, but I do a much more technical physiological breakdown of what singers do than what your typical like YouTube voice teacher does. Most of those people are frauds anyway. But I do a very technical analysis of singers, and so I have to deal with that a lot. Like I have to cut my clips down to like 5 and 6 seconds at a time just to be able to like get anything on there without getting copyright stricken. So I know all about that, and because I mean, what I'm doing is educational 100%. It's all fair use, but it's too difficult to try to combat that. So I don't. I just say, all right, screw it. You guys want to keep your 50 cents because I used 20 seconds of a song or a live performance. Like that's whatever. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, but that's, I guess, just what it is. How am I doing? I'm doing all right. I'm just sitting here watching football while we chat. I guess that's my what's the word? Indulgent consumerism, as I like NFL. So I guess I'm that kind of sheep in that sense. So that's just about it. That's how my Sundays usually are. would be interested when I think about Corey Taylor. Well, so I'm a professional teacher, and I'm classically trained. I'm an opera singer first, predominantly, and so I'm very, 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 very critical on singers, especially contemporary non-classical singers. So be careful asking my opinions about singers, because I might go in hard on them. So
by the way, Taurus, I definitely do plan on talking about art and AI. That actually came out as I was writing the script, so that was part of the plan. I'll put that.
Yeah, I said that it was something that you'd already.
So I'm just wondering. I want your opinion, YouTube. I'm gonna go back on camera in a second here, but is it better to like stop the stream and start over again for if we're gonna react to a separate video, or would it be better to have it just as one long stream? Are longer streams better on YouTube as VODs, or is it better to keep them short? I don't know. How does it work?
It's about retention.
Yeah.
So if you think the same people are going to come back and watch again, then you can just stop here and then start another one, and then you'll have a second video, and you can title it something different too.
Right.
So like if you want them to be two different videos so that people can watch the two different things, like so when people search, remember YouTube's a search engine, right? So people are searching for the idea of watching this other thing. They're not, if they search for it, it's probably not going to come up because this video doesn't have it in the title and in the tags and things like that. So
right.
So I would restart, but then what happens is you take a risk of the audience that you have right now not watching. I don't think people are going to leave, but the idea is that now you have to try to get the audience back that was watching the stream before. You can chop them in half, but the thing is, like, if you present it as two separate streams, it's going to look like two different time frames to people who search it later, right?
Right.
So it really just depends. I say restart stream with a new clip, but I mean that's up to me.
Yeah, I understand that argument, which is why I asked your opinion on it. My counter to that is the video that I want to watch next about Vice, about it's specifically about like this rise of women who are on the right being more vocal about things. So would that be related enough to the first video we watched to keep this as one VOD?
I don't know. I mean, people are saying that we should restart. That's what people are saying in the chat. I don't know.
The rise of far-right female influencers is the next video. You take a hit in the algorithm if you stop or if you make one long VOD. What do you think?
What somebody said a while ago is if you get pushed down in the algorithm if you stream for longer than 3 hours on YouTube.
Oh, shit. Okay, then I guess that's what we'll do then. I guess we'll do a new one. And this is just, I'd leave it, clip it in segments for the algorithm. I don't know. We don't know how the algorithm works. I'm so confused.
Well, let me use the search engine that is YouTube to see if. Give me a minute to look. How does streaming in the YouTube?
He runs a 2-hour stream and then clips out the different segments. Right. It would definitely. This next one is. Oh, it's only 11 minutes long. We could go ahead and play it. I think.
Whatever.
I think, yeah, I didn't realize it's only 11 minutes long. So that'll be under 3 hours then. So I think that's fine. Unless, okay,
before we start, let me go get some water real quick. 1 second.
Yeah. Okay, just curious after 2 hours. Okay, that's fair. Thank you very much for clarifying that. So yeah, so we'll watch this next one, and then we will cut the stream short. And I guess I don't know. We could stream on Twitch after this. What do you think, Zach? We could.
What we could do is we could stop and I can cook.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. we will watch this together and we'll have a little chat about it. Only about probably 10-20 minutes of chat after that, and then we'll stop before the 3-hour mark hits. Thank you guys. You guys understand the algorithm. You guys watch Jeremy. Jeremy knows all the tricks, so please teach me, sensei. I want to be successful and, you know, make good content for you guys. So yeah, we'll stop before the 3-hour mark hits, and then Zach and I will go get some food. Well, Zach will make me food. Gender roles, right? Zach, get in the kitchen.
No, I hate women. I don't cook for women.
Zach, you better get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich right now.
Hey. Who made a sandwich earlier?
I made a sandwich earlier. Okay, let's do this. There's nothing wrong with making sandwiches. There's nothing wrong with making sandwiches. Okay.
Maximize that so I can see it better.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay.
Everybody loves sandwiches. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Everyone loves sandwiches. And it's not sexist to make a sandwich for a woman that you love if you're a man. And it's not sexist to make a sandwich for a man that you love if you're a woman. All right, let's go.
Traditionally, the far right has been a male-dominated and often openly misogynistic space.
Feminism is cancer. Thank you very much.
Hey, it's Milo.
But in recent years, at least on the surface,
we know
something has
Milo.
changed.
At its core, feminism is ideological poison.
Across the world, women have emerged as key figures in far-right movements, playing a central role in softening the image and broadening the appeal of extremist politics.
They are absolutely crucial to spreading the ideology, but they are also crucial to spreading the ideology with a smile and making it seem palatable.
It was women that got Trump elected. And I guess to be really edgy, it was also women that got Hitler elected.
Across the US and Europe, a new generation.
Wait, what?
That's literally a Godwin's law argument.
What's that mean? Educate the class, please. By the class, I mean me.
Over a long enough timeline, all arguments go back to Hitler. That's Godwin's law.
Okay. Yeah, keep the country of Germany, generational guilted. Yeah, let's keep doing that.
But then another thing is like that's already bothering me about this is just showing women who got like quote unquote democratically elected into positions of power as saying that they're a problem. I thought this was feminism. I thought we wanted to have women in power. What if it means that the women on the right are getting in power because maybe these ideals are more desirable by people?
They're more desirable by men.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, if a man is willing to say, "Hey, this woman's in power," and they don't have a problem with it, that means they probably don't hate women that much.
She's, she hates herself. She's a self-hating woman. God.
That is insane. That is insanity. It's insane. It's insane. It's insane.
Men are not people, Zachary.
I mean, I don't even care if I'm a human or not. That's a contradiction.
I don't even care if I'm a human or not. Zach Ansley, 2023. All right, let's keep going.
A generation of female social media personalities are emerging as figureheads of far-right movements.
If you get permanently banned on Twitter like I was, do not start a new Twitter account. You'll just build up your platform again and get kicked off again. Just move to Gavin Mines.
In Italy, the far-right politician Giorgia Meloni has just made history.
Tonight, Italy is preparing for its first ever female prime minister.
In France, Marine Le Pen...
What?
A woman in power! Get rid of her!
Ironically, her political party is called the Brothers of something. So I think that's interesting that a woman is leading this political party called the Brothers of, maybe chat, maybe you guys know the name of it. Maybe they'll say it here.
She's a self-hating woman. That's why she's the leader of a country, okay?
Pen, head of the far-right National Rally, has established herself as the leading rival to President Emmanuel Macron.
Le Pen is known for her far-right stances like restricting immigration and banning Muslim women from wearing headscarves in public.
Have women actually become a secret weapon for the far right?
We're a secret weapon for the far right. Chad, I love blondes too, but that's my Freudian
women on the far
tendencies
right
speaking.
as major social media presences, becoming leading influencers of the radical right.
I blame feminism for the reaction to what's going on and for the perpetuation of what's going on, and why this migration, this mass migration into Europe has gotten so bad.
Lana Locktiff made her name spreading racist and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories through the white supremacist media channel she runs with her husband.
Let me run through a few other European classics coming out that replace the main white character.
Locktiff has been clear about the unique roles she believes women should and should not play within far-right movements.
Although I think women are too emotional for leading roles in politics, this is the time for female nationalists to be loud. Why? Men. Women have a special power to inspire and motivate men.
If this, traditionally attractive woman with blonde hair and, a red lip, it somehow isn't, it's supposed to seem less odious when they talk about, white superiority, but it's about putting up a certain veneer. It's also absolutely about recruitment.
Yes, it's certainly true that the presence of women kind of humanizes and also almost justifies a movement.
Yeah, it makes it softer to hear. It's easier for people to hear a hard message when it's a soft, good-looking woman saying it. It's just
showing the ways in which, there's actually more familiarity, more similarity, between, what the far right believes and what mainstream conservatives believe, I think is really crucial.
There's one key demographic in particular to whom female far-right influencers appear to have a special appeal, and that's other women.
The majority of white women voted for Trump. So I think the media is trying to spin it that, oh my God, all these women are feminists now. I think the majority are not feminists. And when you actually talk to women and say, well, what does that really mean? You find that the majority of them are actually quite traditional.
The irony is that Locktiff and other far-right influencers spend much of their time railing against the feminist movement that won women the right to a public political voice in the first place.
I think of women back then not being able to vote and having the whole one house, one vote thing. Why would you marry a man who wouldn't vote in your best interest or you wouldn't agree with politically to begin with?
They sort of position themselves, or they have this posture of, as a woman, I can speak to what feminism really is. Women who feel threatened by it, women who don't see a place for themselves. They think that feminism has made the world a worse place. They think that it is ultimately an anti-woman project. They also describe partnership and motherhood as political action, because when your whole project is about guaranteeing the future of whiteness, fulfilling all of that is a matter of politics.
Future of whiteness.
Awesome. All right, that looks great. Now, this is complete. You're done. Got this cute ad-friendly makeup look.
Oh shit.
Figures like the Canadian alt-right star, Lauren Southern, operate as independent, empowered entrepreneurs and consciously use the same social media strategies as other online influencers to build their following.
Underestimated the amount of people that were gonna be here. I said there was only gonna be 1,000. There are thousands.
I got something to
somebody
say,
watches
but...
the channel. How's it going?
Alongside the anti-feminist rhetoric
It's almost
and
over.
influencers,
Well, it's about
has
halfway.
been the growth of an entire online subculture known as tradwives, who actively reject pursuing their own careers or independence in favor of raising families and submitting to their husbands.
Don't listen to this narrative of feminism that is killing white Western society. Don't buy into
Everything's
it.
got to be a label,
Trad
right?
movement is,
Trad.
This movement to celebrate women who are in traditional roles. You are creating content that celebrates, that, highlights how good the trad life is. It's making traditional gender roles seem appealing, seem cool, seem a part of the future. But if you really spend time with it, and you look at some of these, Instagram accounts or TikToks,
But I
what
thought
you'll realize
women
is it's
had
as
a
much
choice.
about what it's against as what it's for.
Thank you for not being ashamed to be traditional, to be Christian, to be conservative, and to be white.
I'm feminine, not feminist.
Okay.
Right? And so
Okay, hold on. First of all, you don't choose to be white. You don't choose to be white. You don't choose to be black. You don't choose to be what you're born as. So that aside, but I don't, if the whole argument is like women should have rights, women should have a ability to choose what they want to do with their lives, why is it bad for women to want to be a traditional, like, what does that even fucking mean anymore? But like, how they live their lives. If they want to be a housewife, that is totally okay. If they don't want to be a housewife, that's totally okay. Why do we have to put labels on everything? Why do you have to be a trad? Like, you know what that sounds like? It sounds like a freaking turf. You know, how closely related are those things? If you're taking away something, like, tradition is not necessarily a bad thing, right? I don't know. Something about the word trad really grinds my gears. Maybe it's like the hard D. I don't know. All right, no pun intended.
Like,
Zach, please.
So first off, why are all these people that are against these quote unquote far right people ugly? And why are all the far right girls hot?
Zachary, don't you dare talk about pretty privilege right now, okay?
I'm not. No, that's not pretty privilege. I'm just saying that's not privilege. All I'm saying is that there seems to be a trend here. That the people who are complaining about, oh, they make it softer and blah blah blah, like, they look hideous. And I mean, yes, you know that when it comes to looks, that's not like super important to me. But what I'm saying is that there is definitely, just looking at this video, there is a correlation here between the way that these people look. Like,
I mean, people, like, I'm gonna also counter that point with, like I said, you cannot choose how you are born. And some people, like, what was her name? Jewel? No. Pearl. Okay, you thought it was Julie, so now my brain is confused on it. Pearl, like, she was saying, like, how you're born, you can't really... I mean, if you are conventionally less attractive or more attractive, which, by the way, anyone can find anyone attractive, by the way. Like, so, you know, this is your opinion, Zach, that you think that the people that are kind of fighting this are less attractive, right? But I mean, you know, makeup has something to do with that. Genetics has something to do with that. So, I mean, I don't necessarily agree from a debate perspective of, like, you know, if they look better than others, if people look ungroomed and they don't take care of themselves, then yeah, there can be, I believe that's a strong argument to say, like, oh, well, these people can't even take care of themselves. They look disheveled. They look like they can't, you know, like, get themselves together. But, you know, if they're just ugly, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, we're all going to be ugly in 40 years, okay?
But my point, my greater overarching point to this is that the women that they're calling trad women, traditional women, have accepted the traits that make them inherently feminine, which are probably more inherently attractive to the average man. And they've emphasized those traits.
Okay, and so, but obviously then as a man, you would find them more attractive than the people who speak out against it. And which is, I mean, that's valid. That's valid. As a woman who struggles with, you know, her self-consciousness and, you know, feeling like, you know, I need to be pretty in certain ways, and that is affected by the male gaze. If we're just being honest, you know, that this fact that, you know, men have a certain type of thing that they are more attracted to, that puts pressure on women, right? As from a female perspective, I mean, I see what you're saying by pointing it out, for sure. And the women that are against the traditional, you know, ways of living could be against this traditional way of looking, but that also goes back into beauty standards. So
I know that, but I think what I'm talking about isn't necessarily the exact look.
Okay.
As much as it is the demeanor. Like, look at this woman right here right now. She looks
See,
like
me and Zach
bitter.
disagree on things sometimes, but yeah, you're not wrong. She does look bitter. Yes.
Look, hear me out. Like, look at her lips. They're turned downward. Her, like, I mean, this is a bad freeze frame, but when she talks, she looks angry. She looks bitter. She looks like she's trying to take on this, like, masculine sort of, like, affectation on her image. That's not what men like. Even men that aren't fans of the playground, you know, like, they don't want they don't want a woman. Most men, I'm not saying all, but a lot of men that want these traditional women are not looking for women that have this like masculine demeanor, right?
Well, I mean, she's obviously has a lot of very strong opinions that aren't really, you know, very logical, right? How she presents herself is angry because she is angry about things that she shouldn't be angry about, for sure. But like I said, I know a lot of traditional housewife women that wear their hair short because it's hard to manage long hair. I've talked about, if we go back to beauty standards for a second before, like Zach and I have talked about like this idea of like why he personally, or why he would argue that men in general like long hair on a woman. And I come back with that. Well, I say a lot of women, I only speak for myself here, but I can, from women that I have talked to, we like long hair on men too. But why do men cut their hair for the most part? Well, because it's traditional to cut your hair short, but also it's a pain to deal with. So, you know, it's really hard to brush your hair and wash it the right way. There's a certain way you have to wash longer hair and stuff, and make sure it doesn't get knotted and everything. So, but there are traditional women who even have conservative values, who are child bearers, who stay at home and take care of children in that traditional way, that have their hair short. And, you know, genetics play a role in it. I see where you're coming from, though, where like she is ugly because of how she presents herself from the inside out versus from the outside as a whole, right? Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Yeah, it's about the present. Gosh, I don't know how to, like I said, it's about the presentation. It's about the way, and I'm not talking about makeup. I'm not talking about hair color or eye color. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the way that these women that are on the right have accepted the traits that make them feminine and have not adopted ways of being, ways of walking, ways of looking, ways of talking, ways of presenting yourself in general that don't look feminine. Like, and that's, yes, that's this gets into a whole different topic, but there are biological traits that men and women have that make them have proclivities toward being attracted to one another, because if we didn't have that, there wouldn't be a human race and we would not be able to procreate, okay? Because we wouldn't be attracted to each other. So when you look at the bell curve and you look at the kinds of traits, there are physical things that people are more drawn to, yes, but at the same time, there are attitudes and demeanors that people are drawn to because they are more in line.
And that's fair.
And they're more in line and representative of what. Remember, I say this to Ellie all the time. We're in the same evolutionary state that we were in 10,000 years ago or 20,000 years ago, when we were crawling around to the ground trying to dig for plants and kill animals to eat. And so we have the same basal instincts for our attractiveness as we did back then. And all this other stuff has doctored that up, right? So now what we have is there are people who, like, when we look at the grand scheme of things, there are certain demeanors and behaviors and habits that women exhibit intrinsically because of their biology that men find more attractive. So a lot of these women that are on this other side attacking the traditional women, they have rejected some of those feminine traits that make them inherently desirable to men. So as a man, when I see that, I go, these girls are not attractive. And it doesn't even have that much to do with the actual, like, physical makeup of how they are. This, like, in this case, it's this woman, in this picture, is her demeanor. Like, she looks like she's trying to be as unfeminine as humanly possible. And
yeah, her demeanor is ugly. Okay, yeah, and that's a good distinction to make, because, you know, if women want to cut their hair short, because long hair is a pain in the ass, that's for sure. And if women don't want to wear makeup, we talk about that all the time. Like, women shouldn't have to wear makeup, right? It's not. So yeah, that's the distinction that I'm trying to. That's what needed to be said. It's not the hair. It's not the lack of makeup. It's her demeanor. It's how she speaks, and it's that ugliness from inside that shows.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say that it's ugly. I mean, yes, ugliness from inside isn't exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that a lot of the people on the left that are trying to say that they don't believe in traditional values and they don't like men, they're anti-patriarchy, they take away the traits that make them look more traditionally feminine, right? So
Sean says Zach has pretty privilege.
Thank you.
Her body language is sharp and spiky. Yes, exactly.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's kind of what I'm talking about.
Men are attracted to women they can subconsciously see raising a family with, and that's my guess. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not a man. Zach, would you agree with that statement?
I think that I can't speak for all men, but
yeah, men in the chat, do you agree with that statement too?
I'm a pretty normal dude, and when I look at a woman, I don't want to look at. I don't find a woman attractive that looks like she's wanting to step on my face at the first chance she gets.
Mm-hmm. That would be me. I'm looking. Just kidding. Just kidding.
That's not, like, when I see that, I go, this woman looks like she's going to be difficult. And that doesn't mean that I want women to be submissive. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that I feel like I'm going to be constantly challenged in a negative way by this person, by the way they present themselves. So that's not someone that I would see as a desirable partner. Not that I don't want my partner to challenge me in things like growing myself, but I don't want to be with someone who's going to, like, attack me for my masculine traits just because she's trying to reject her own or her own feminine traits, right? So that's where I'm coming from. Does that make some sense, I guess?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, and it's totally okay to be actively attracted to mother material. You're looking for a wife. Exactly. And you should. Yeah, like what I just said, I'm completely kidding. I'm looking for someone for the long term, you know? I don't want someone who just wants to step all over me figuratively or literally, you know? That's not what we want here. All right, let's continue.
So seeding these ideas that, you know, you want to be like me.
I'm a comedian.
You know, look how great my life is. Children love me. Men love me. Like, look how celebrated I am in comparison to, right? You'll start to see the ways in which being trad is also about being anti something, not just pro-tradition, but anti-progress. No role could be more important in the far right than being someone who is willing to uphold a society of traditional gender roles and to have children and raise children within that society.
In Europe, two examples stand out of female politicians leading far-right parties to mainstream acceptance. In France, Marine Le Pen took over her father's far-right anti-immigration party in 2011 and immediately set about trying to soften its hardline image, taking it from the margins to become a major opposition party.
Je contrôlerai l'immigration et rétablirai la sécurité pour tous.
Far-right movements and parties, first of all, are highly strategic, and secondly, are highly opportunistic. Women are essentially a tool to that end. Women are seen as having a better entree into that process of detoxification.
There will be in these immigrants terrorists.
Marine Le Pen is a very smart and adept politician. She wants to project racist ideas to potential voters, but she also sees that there's a boundary, and if she goes too far, that would start costing her voters instead of adding voters.
Le Pen has even tried to co-opt feminist arguments, pitching her anti-immigrant rhetoric as a defense of women's rights.
A day after the allegations of mass sexual assault were made public, Cologne continues to search for the perpetrators and for answers.
On New Year's Eve 2015, large numbers of women were sexually assaulted by groups of male immigrants at celebrations in Cologne and other German cities. Far-right parties immediately seized on this to amplify panic about the so-called European migration crisis that year.
An estimated 1,700 right-wing demonstrators protested Germany's liberal immigration policy after more than 20 migrants were arrested for allegedly assaulting women on New Year's Eve.
Le Pen herself wrote an editorial claiming that immigration from Africa and the Middle East was a threat to women's rights in Europe.
The fact that Marine Le Pen uses women's rights in some arenas and doesn't use women's rights in other arenas is a perfect example of how that's an opportunistic strategy. It's a tool to say, I want to attack ethnic minorities, I'm going to attack them using this tool.
In Italy, there's been a similar process of female-led detoxification, with Giorgia Meloni leading the far-right Brothers of Italy, which has roots in Italian fascism, to become the largest party in parliament.
Moi, je crois que Mussolini, c'était un bon politicien.
The 45-year-old firebrand insists she's no fascist, just a proud conservative and nationalist.
And unlike Marine Le Pen, Giorgia Meloni doesn't use feminism in order to gain votes.
I see the woke ideology. Will we surrender in front of this?
In fact, she openly rails against modern feminism, instead championing so-called traditional family and gender roles, despite herself having faced the stigma of being an unwed mother.
Sí a la familia natural. No a los lobby LGBT.
Meloni's, like virtually all far-right politicians, extremely contradictory. Some parts of feminism work for her as a politician. At the same time, absolutely interested in using anti-LGBT, anti-women's rights, anti-welfare for immigrant rights rhetoric when it suits her. Very important to realize that women are not politically a monolith now or in history. We create our own peril by failing to understand how central women can be in the far right if we have blinders on that make us think that far right is a man's terrain and progressive politics is a women's terrain.
And guess what? Now we're pissed. And we have very good reason to be pissed. And I hope you're not twisting this for your liberal media.
Influencers use the platforms won for them by feminist pioneers to attack feminism itself. But as long as they keep pulling in votes and online clicks, no one on the far right is going to get too hung up on these hypocrisies.
Oh my God, there's just too much.
Wow.
There's too much to that. That is.
First of all, Taurus, yeah, I avoid the word cis. I sometimes it still slips because of all the rhetoric that I've been fed over the past few years, but cis, the term cis was created by a pedo. So, and you can look it up. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but yeah, actually, Sydney Watson did a video on where the term cis came from. So I definitely recommend watching that. So I try to avoid it at all costs.
So, like, when you talk about people being used as a monolith, right?
Yeah, don't you twist my words, liberal media, by the way.
Like, when you talk about groups of people being used as a monolith and how they're saying that the right is using women as a monolith, is that not exactly what the left does when they try to say you have to believe and agree with us or you hate women? You're not a true feminist. It's like a no true Scotsman fallacy combined with making women into a monolith to fit the propaganda of the left. Like, that's exactly what they're doing. But she says that the right are using women as a monolith.
Yeah, that whole thing was propaganda.
Insanity.
Yeah, it's what, like double speak?
Yeah, it's double speak. Yeah, double speak.
Or wait, no, it's newspeak, double think.
Double think.
Yeah,
right,
double think and newspeak are the terms of 1984, and that is a example of double think.
And then there's wrong think.
Yeah, right. Everyone in my chat, you're all thinking wrong, by the way. Me too, and Zach.
So, like, the thing, like, there's so many things here that I can't address all this.
We got. I'm gonna hit the 3-hour mark in 15 minutes, so we're gonna do our final thoughts. I think that if we all round it back to the beginning, I think that women and men need to both realize that, you know, the feminist movement, the people that died, right, or fought so hard for the feminists today would probably be rolling in their graves. They'd probably be ashamed of the state of women today. It's hard to be taken seriously as a woman. I mean, in order to get a voice, you have to have the right audience, and it's really hard to get the right audience as a woman, I think, because algorithms fight against the truth, and they want women to be tools of not, you know, not political tools. I mean, kind of, but they want them to be tools in like the way where they just serve the male gaze and not really contribute to political discourse or society. And I feel like I have seen that so many times, and it's really hard to say, like, is feminism alive? Is feminism important? What is feminism? Because there isn't a real definition for it. I think that we should all try to just listen to everybody, and I think that women and men should be equal in the way where they're listened to. But I also believe, just in general, whether you're a woman or a man, you should earn your right to be listened to as well, right? I think if you just spew hate, then why would anyone listen to you? Why should anyone listen to you? I believe in free speech. I believe everyone has the right to their opinion, but that also means that everyone has the right to not listen to you if they don't want to, whether you're a woman or not. Yeah. I'm a frequent wrong thinker. Do you have anything you want to end with, Zach?
I'm trying to decide what I want to say and what I don't.
How about a general overview and what stood out the most? I think that women are extremely divided amongst each other. That's what I got from the first video. I have this sense that, like, women are not in agreement of each other. I mean, that women are propagandized to compete. I felt that on Twitch all the time. Like, I literally would have people come in and be like, Team Ellie. Like, this poor girl, this other streamer that I used to know, I'm gonna say this really quickly, like, me and her just kind of started streaming around the same time. And we were like the different types, right? She was like blonde hair, blue eyes. I was like, you know, dark hair, dark eyes. And so, like, you know, those are the two teams, right? And men from the chats, because, you know, Twitch is a hellscape, which, by the way, I'm going to stream on Twitch after this, after dinner, if you want to come meet me over in the hellscape, where we'd have men come in and be like, Team Ellie, or I'm not going to call it the other girl, but yeah, your team instead. And it's just like, this sense of competition amongst women is really toxic, and I've always been against it. And I think that is still alive and well, obviously, because, I mean, that whole debate, that wasn't necessarily competition. I mean, I guess if they bring in pretty privilege, it might be, but that was just like, they were just so divided on their opinions. They were divided on their sense of self. They're divided on the respect that they have for other women with different opinions. It was really sad to watch, actually. That's what I got out of that women are just very divided and they can't support each other.
I think I formulated my thought here. You're right that women are divided, and I think that it is completely intentional that the propaganda is splitting women up, because ultimately, like, and this goes back to the genetic proclivities, right? Women are ultimately, in theory, in a functioning society, in control of the reproduction, and if you can make it to where men are constantly castigated as evil, you can control the people who are ultimately responsible for the process of bearing the children. And I think that this whole movement is an active attempt using logical fallacies, appeals to emotion, no true Scotsman fallacies, red herrings, designed to disincentivize women from being attracted to men, so that ultimately Western culture can, and I'm not talking about a race, I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about Western culture as a whole can be undermined and be more controllable, because in the past 100 years, Western culture has been incredibly unified. And we showed this when we won the world, when the West, won the World War, like World War II, and we've shown that Western culture has been unified very well over the past 100 years or so. And so there has to be something to split that up to make us more controllable, because we're also pretty much the wealthiest section of the world too. So you've got to split that up.
Yeah.
Right.
And Sivask, I see what you're saying there. And by me talking about the male gaze, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I am not saying that men are not objectified. I'm not saying that there is not competition between men. Of course there is. Of course there's pretty privilege among men too. I just, there's a term for the male gaze. I just, it's common sense in my head that men go through this kind of scrutiny and competition amongst each other for women's gaze as well. I mean, of course I know that. I've seen it hurt my brother, and it's a very real situation. And maybe that's another stream I could do, is I could finally watch that Red Pill movie or whatever and talk about men's rights next time. Yeah. You're a true Scotsman. 9/11 was the last time US was unified. Sheesh.
Yeah, that was clearly a method of division.
Yep.
9/11 was clearly designed to divide people.
Yep. And now even women who are supposed to be like, support all women, right? They're divided amongst each other. It's craziness. This life is crazy. Communist Manifesto, I have not read it. Zach, I'd like to buy you a drink. Oh, yeah. So come hang out with us on Twitch in about an hour or so. Twitch.tv/AlienVideoland. My brand is the same amongst all social medias. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. So we're going to have some dinner. We're going to have some grits and eggs like true Southerners. We're going to have grits and eggs for dinner.
Old traditional breakfast for dinner.
Yeah, buddy. You betcha. Red Pill would be great. Must see stuff. I'm there for it. All right, cool. Yeah, that's an idea. That's definitely an idea. And like I said, I appreciate men and women equally. Am I a feminist? All right, guys. If I don't see you later on stream, I will see you next time I am on YouTube. And keep on the lookout for our new videos. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting me again. You guys are the best. Awesome, awesome, awesome. For real. For real. Are you for real? Are you for real? I'm for real. Thank you for taking a shot and sending that video to the quartering. I'm glad I found you. Oh. Thanks, guys. Zach, you should come in and show your face real quick. Face reveal before I end this video.
All right. 1 minute. I'll be in there 1 sec.
Which wave feminist is really the question. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm my own feminist, okay? If it's all about my feelings and we can feel whatever we want, then I feel like I'm wave 762 of feminist, okay? Where we don't say things like trad and cis. we just respect that men and women have their own respective struggles.
Oh, where? I can't. Oh,
over
this
here.
one. This one over here.
Here's Zach. Face reveal.
Dark. It's too dark. Can't see me. It's too dark. Hey, guys.
This is my brother. All right. See you guys later. Have a great night. Be on live on twitch.tv/alienvideoland in a little while, and I'll see you later in YouTube sphere. Bye-bye.